them know that we are the American Indians. Copper color Indians, baby. A real Indian, American Indian is me, not from Africa. Remember that.
African Americans here, but they recently moved here from places like Kenya, Ethiopia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Zaire. But now the brother whose family's lived in this country for generations, occupying space in all the locations, New York, Miami, LA, Detroit, Chicago, even if he's wearing a dashiki and sporting an afro. And if you go to Africa in search of your race, you'll find out quick, you're not an African American. You're just a black American in Africa taking up space. Why you keep trying to attach yourself to a continent where even if you got the chance to go and you went, most people that wouldn't even claim you as one of them, as a purebred daughter or son of them.
And we are not Africans. We are not African. Are you an African, baby? I'm not no.
Rather be alone in my zone writing poems. When I get in, I take a shower, read a book and feel empowered. Smoking on that sour got me counting down the hours, thinking of all the shit that they could do but won't allow us. Then I realize they all some fucking cowards. The world is ours. Me and my brother twin like the towers, and we want it now, never later. No more favors done with all these traitors who be haters on the low. They just hate to see you grow, so I'd rather be alone in my zone writing poems, cause I'm never on the road, and I'd rather stay at home. And life been moving fast lately, trying to get a grasp, and every day I'm mad lately. Never let it drive me crazy, you do this for my old lady.
They told us stay quiet, better close your lips. We never thought we'd get our chance to speak. So we just stay grinding, trying to hold our chips, and thank God for our chance to breathe. They told us stay quiet, better close your lips. We never thought we'd get our chance to speak. So we just stay grinding, trying to hold our chips, and thank God for our chance to breathe. So let us breathe in.
See, ain't shit changed, but a bunch of people feel us. Reaching for the top, and now I ain't got no ceilings. Pour me up a cup or two so it could stop the bleeding. Roll me up a spliff or two, and now I'm hella weeded, cause I'm feeling like I want it, but I don't know if I need it. Took a few L's, but that nigga undefeated. Same shit, different day, why this so repeated? If we don't talk no more, it's probably cause I felt mistreated. Bad enough I don't hear excuses, trust me, you could keep it. Saw it coming from a mile away once I peeped it. Caught up in that drama, mama, I don't get between it. They be trying to turn it on you, then they really tweaking.
We broke, but we wealthy in ability and hopes fits. Bitch, no, we only need the brokerage. We only overage, overseeing all the dope shit. Killing these cats with they facilities. Flush down the drain, leaning through all 8 lives till that become they centerpiece. Unfold and be a masterpiece at half of all our faculties. We actually dope, we just don't know that half of we.
We actually dope, we just don't know that half of we.
No. Hey now.
They told us stay quiet, better close your lips. We never thought we'd get our chance to speak. So we just stay grinding, trying to hold our chips, and thank God for our chance to breathe. They told us stay quiet, better close your lips. We never thought we'd get our chance to speak. So we just stay grinding, trying to hold our chips, and thank God for our chance to breathe. So let us breathe in.
So we're gonna do something pretty interesting today. Um, I find that a lot, and shout out to everybody in the chat, and honor and shout out to everybody that's watching too. Y'all know I'm puffing back here. Shay, Kichiwaya, Lies Unplugged, Willie Cameron, Copper Tone, Guy. Hey now, Willie Cameron, Anthony Lowe, and everybody watching. I'm just trying to wait for a few people to get up in here because I don't want to start all over. And I, I do a lot of reading and all day, all night, just reading because I love to read and I love to just see where people's heads are at and what people's intentions are. And it just seems to me that after the invasion of our landmass by the takeover, and the more I look and study about the takeover of our landmass, I'm like, I can't, there's no way. Hey, T. Cortez, there's like no way that I can put this on literally foreigners because it just wasn't. Every time I look and I read and I research, I'm like, well, it just wasn't enough foreigners over here to like massively take over our landmass. And the more I look, everybody does their research and put their information out, whether it's a foreigner doing it or people from our community, like gatekeepers, they put their little fake information out because you know what their job is, to keep us from knowing. And I'm like, something is freaking wrong, you guys. Something's wrong. Seriously. When you look at when things were supposed to take place and happen, the majority of the wars that were over here, and you guys know this, if you really look at all the wars that were over here, even prior to Christopher Columbus getting here, if he's a real damn person, which he's a black dude, it was wars with us. We had an issue before they even landed on Plymouth Rock. And I'm like, it was always somebody that wanted to make a drastic change in our landmass. And I'm like, something's not right. And it's still not right. It's not adding up. It's not right with the takeover of our landmass. Because when I look at the issues that were going on in the North compared to what was going on in the South, it's crazy. It's drastically different. Even though the takeover in the South, in the North, the takeover of the Indians here in the North were taken over by the same damn people in the South. They were the same people. And I try so hard and look beyond the 16th century, and I go to the 14th century. And when we're talking the 15th century, which is 1400s, and I'm reading wars that happened before the 15th century, which is the 1400s. There's wars before that, and it had nothing to do with Europeans. Greetings, California. It didn't have shit to do with Europeans. Facts. And I'm like, okay, so now something's wrong here. Something's not adding up. All I know is shit drastically changed in the 1600s. It did. A massive takeover took place. It was drastic change. I mean, to the point where we were not, as a people, we began to stop in the 1400s. worshiping and doing things the way that we originally did. It's like everything that was freaking original in the 1400s began changing drastically. And it literally started in the North, before there was even colonial states. Drastic changes. And it started with the relationship with the Europeans. And after the 1400s, we go into the 1500s and then the 1600s. And that's where a drastic, and when I say drastic turnaround, because these Indians here in the North, and, you know, the shit somehow got to the South. Really. Because I understand the Virginia Company and them with their shit over there. But then you look at it. So I have to visually see shit and explain it. And I'm like, we're going to get into this. We're going to get into all this massive confusion. And it's going to make sense. So let us start off with, and shout out to everybody in there. Please, y'all, hit the like button. Please, and share it. Share it on your Facebook. Just hit the share button and share whatever selection you have there to share. Okay? Wake these folks up. Smash the like button. And I'm looking at this birth of indoctrination. The birth and the great divide amongst the American Indians timeline. Okay? So I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, when the Pilgrims, and these are melanated people from what I'm hearing, and I think it was a mixture of both. I'm just keeping it real. But when the Pilgrims came, okay, in 1492, they came with their Geneva Bible. They did not come with the King James Version Bible. Okay? And all this shit was going on up in Massachusetts. Hey, y'all, smash the like button. Okay? It was going on up in Mass, and Rhode Island and Maine and all up in that damn area. And then it trickled down to the colonial state, Connecticut, And I'm looking, all right, then you get hit hard, real hard, in the 16th and 17th century with Christianity. Boom. And that was just like the benediction and shit. All the way to we rocked with that. Our people suckered in that went into this Christianity thing. It's like it was the controller of it began to be the controller of everything going across these masses, because our ancestors started going to schools and stuff and different things like that on their land masses. Now, we're talking from 16th and 17th century. That's the 1500s and the 1600s. All right? And that just like rocked for all the way until like the 18th century. I mean, the 19th, 20th century, I would guess I say. Then there becomes this like great, really crazy thing. Because by then, you done had the Civil War. You had the Revolutionary War. All that shit went through the 16th and 17th century and 18th century. All this shit happened on our landmass, right? Then pushed in our communities. By this time, we was pushed off our lands and everything. And in the droves, our people began to start leaving this Christian stuff. They did. They began, after being told that you couldn't say they were Indians, they went through all that shit. All that shit. And they became these Negroes and coloreds. And this then uprises the Moorish Science Temple in 1913. And then they got another date of it being established in 1928 in New York, Newark, New Jersey, something like that. We're going to get into that. And then you got the Nation of Islam in the 1930s. That's just like the silent era. The silent. Then you get hit heavy with the 5% Nation. All right? In 1964. Then it becomes a divide of the Nation of Islam, and then you get birthed with the Sunni Muslims in 1975. And then I just left out the Hebrew Israelites because they ain't nothing but a kickoff between all of the last four. I'm serious. To me, the Hebrew Israelites ain't nothing but an old kickoff group established that's based from the Moors, the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation, and the Sunni Muslims. It's like they're all mixed up in one. So I don't even list them. Right? So we got this timeline in our head. Now, let's just talk about this division mess. Let's get into it. Now, I got like 13 pages, y'all, and I'm going to read it because I'm going to speak about in the order in which this stuff developed. These organizations developed and began the process of the Great Divide and how we became lost and totally lost, like gone in our brains as a people as to our identity. Because it's like our identities were erased with the help of joining these different organizations. It's like we just like spaced out and lost who we were. And here's the funky part. All this shit going on in this timeline. Wait now, let me get it back up. All this stuff going on in this timeline. Honey, these ain't no damn Africans over here establishing the Moorish Science Temple, the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation, the Sunni Muslims, and the Christians. None of these are Africans at all. None of them. Wasn't even talked about. None of these established organizations were established by African people. None of them over here. It's so bad. And now, when you look at that timeline, you don't even think of Africa in any of those organizations that's been established over here after we broke loose from Christianity. You don't even think of Africa. Do you even see Africa in any of the shit that was being established and going on in these years? Now, I wasn't born when Drew Ali was around. I was not born when the Nation of Islam was established. And I wasn't born when the 5% Nation was established. I was a little girl, about 9 years old, when the Sunni Muslims came into play. But as a little girl, growing up in the 70s, I do know and recall Christianity, Nation of Islam, because I knew about Malcolm X. I knew about Martin Luther King, okay, which put him with Christianity. I knew about Nation of Islam, and because I knew about Malcolm X. I knew about the 5% because I learned about Huey. And I knew about the Sunni Muslim, but I didn't really know about the Sunni Muslims all that good until, believe it or not, that I learned of their existence. I was not really educated on Sunni Muslims. I did not know that there was a difference. So there is definitely a great separation between the two. One, white people could get in, and the other, white people can't get in. Sunni Muslims have white people. And I know Sunni Muslims shave their hairs down there, the men, which is pretty weird. I learned this recently about Sunni Muslims. I did not know this kind of stuff. I really wasn't educated on the 5% nation either, because the ones that I really knew about were Christianity, Nation of Islam, because I grew up with little friends that literally wore the long white outfits that were uniforms. They wore them every day. I grew up with a little girl, and I still know them and love them to this day. They were my next door neighbors. I remember when they got their name changed and everything. But I wasn't real educated on 5% nation and Sunni Muslims or Moors. I was not. And, my dad would try to tell me about, more. He said, oh, they're just a kickoff of the damn Muslims. I said, well, they can't be, because it looks like they established before the Nation of Islam. So maybe the Nation of Islam is a kickoff for them. He said, no, they're not. Because the Nation of Islam is over in the Middle East. My father was very short. But let me do some reading, y'all. Let's do some reading, because a lot of people that are in the chat, and I looked at the age statistics in this, and in my show, and it's anywhere between ages 35 and 65. That's my audience. I got some 20s, but for the most part, it's like between 30 and 65. So I have a great, audience over here, and I'm so grateful for it. And a lot of those generations that were born in my era and current, really the 1990 babies, if you want to keep it real, the 1990 babies, they didn't do a lot of reading. And it was like they're this generation that was just like left behind in everything. Like, they were not educated on our past at all, really. It was just like they were just like this blank generation. And I said, this is why I'm so glad we have YouTube to check that shit at the door and get it really instilled in them 1990 babies. The 80s babies is a kickoff from us, because a lot of the 80s babies still have those strong morals, like a baby who was born in the very late 60s like me. So let's read about these founders. Y'all smash the like button. Y'all with me? Give me a 1. Give me a 1, because this is going to be some good reading. Oh, 59 right now. Hey, Bridget, T. Cortez, Dina Mae, Sylvia. Hey now, y'all. Smash that like button, y'all, because I'm gonna do some good reading. And I think it's helpful. This reading is gonna be helpful to us. So let me get it in. I'm getting everything. I got everything up already. So I'm gonna make sure it's to the beginning to where I'm gonna go. All right. So let me hit the save button there and hit a share screen. All right, y'all. This is gonna be a lot of reading, and some of you are probably familiar with it. And all I did was a lot of copying and pasting, getting information off of these organizations that just showed up in our hoods, appeared, literally. It's like we were a people seeking some kind of orderly way of life because we couldn't practice our own damn way. So here we go. Boom. So put this up out my way. So we got, according to the King James Bible, how were the American Indian heads bruised? And you know, when you go look up the word head, because the King James Bible told Eve, add the devil in them, that, you know, it would be deep enmity between her seed and Satan's seed. And one would bruise the other's head and the other one would bruise the heel. And when I look up head, Head, y'all know that scripture in that King James Version Bible. Let's go to it, because I don't want y'all to sleep nothing, because I know nobody's Bible thumper. I'm not anymore anyway. Okay, let me look up. Just go get that Genesis 3:15. And so it says right here, I'm going to just blow this up. King James Verbal Bible goes off saying this shit. And you know, this is what they were saying was going to happen to us. And that Bible was not ours, but the punishments in it, it's supposed to be it applies to us. Because if you look at this, I look at this shit literally. Where is it? Damn, I just had it up. Where'd it go? All right, there that is. It's right there. This shit always confuses me. All right, so here we go. That Genesis verse says, and I will put enmity, that's deep hatred, between thee and the woman. He's talking to the devil. He's either talking to the devil and Eve or Adam and Eve. He said, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman. Basically saying, I'll put enmity between you and the woman. He's talking to the devil. And between thy seed, meaning your seed, and her seed. Okay? So he's telling he's going to put deep hatred between her kids and his kids. And it shall bruise thy head. So whatever the fuck it is, meaning the Satan's kids, I guess, or the woman's, I don't know which one, shall bruise thy head. Head. They're going to bruise the head. And thou shalt bruise his heel. Heel. Now, I go and look that up. I know y'all got that. So y'all hear that verse? Hey, damn Nisha. So now let's go to this. This is the interesting stuff to me. And it gets into this. I go, since Sister Beth, you know me, I go and say, well, damn, how is it going to bruise the head? And I said, well, I'll be damned. When you look up head, that the definition is literally a chief, a principal person, a leader, a commander, one who has the first rank or place, and to whom others are subordinate, as the head of an army, the head of a sect or party. Also, in the head is the brain. Let's not leave that out. That's the bruising. The head bruised our damn chiefs, suckered their asses. And then I said, well, let me look up bruise. It's a verb transitive as Z. To crush by beating or pounding with an instrument, not edged or pointed. When applied to an animal flesh or to vegetables, a bruise is a contusion that impairs the natural solidity and texture of the part, but often without breaking the skin. When applied to minerals and similar substances, right? It signifies to break them. It signifies to break them, and often to reduce them to a coarse powder. And I'm like, well, damn. From ashes to dust to dust. That's a fucking bruise. A noun, contusion, are hurt upon the flesh of animals, upon plants or other bodies with a blunt or heavy instrument. What was the blunt or heavy instrument? The Bible. Bottom line. I'm sorry. So then we get into Christianity was introduced to the Americas as it was first colonized by Europeans beginning in the 16th and 17th centuries. Immigration further increased Christian numbers. Beginning with the 16th century, Spanish missions, virtually all of the Europeans who settled in colonial America came from nations with a prominent state church. Indeed, in some countries, there was only one lawful church. Facts. They brought that shit over here. And this is what them Hebrew Israelites asses need to know. They brought this over here. They'll wake up one day. So now we get into what was the first, after leaving those Christian, we jump into these organizations. The Moore Science Temple, 1913/1928. I don't know why they have those two dates. But we're going to read about these people. The Moore Science Temple of America is an American national and religious organization founded by Noble Drew Ali, born as Timothy Drew in the early 20th century. That's the 1900s. He based it on the premise that African Americans are descendants of the Moabites and thus are Moorish, sometimes also spelled Moorish, by adherents, by nationality, and Islamic faith. Now, these ain't my words. African Americans was not used back during that time. Was not. During that time, what was used was Negro and colored. Ali put together elements of major traditions to develop a message of personal transformation through historical education, racial pride, and spiritual uplift. His doctrine, already telling you his doctrine, was also intended to provide, there it is, African Americans with a sense of identity in the world and to promote civic involvement. Now, you see this? Even back then, we had to seek an identity. They were seeking identities because ours was taken. We were threatened, and we had to say that we were black and stuff. We had to. So they was trying to, like it says, to provide us with a sense of identity in the world. An organization with headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, claiming to be the only Moorish Science Temple teaching the full national side of the Moorish movement, is the Moorish Science Temple with registered business names, okay, of the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., and Moorish American National Republic. Nobody in my family ever talked about this particular organization. One primary tenet of the Moorish Science Temple is the belief that African Americans are of Moorish descent, specifically from the Moroccan Empire. I go look for this, and it says it's over somewhere else, not here. According to Ali, this area included other countries that today surround Morocco. To join the movement, individuals had to proclaim their Moorish nationality. They were given nationality cards. In religious texts, adherents refer to themselves racially as Asiatics, as the Middle East is also Western Asia. Adherents of this movement are known as Moorish American Muslims and are called Moorish scientists in some circles. The Moorish Science Temple of America was incorporated under the Illinois Religious Corporation Act 1805, ILCS 110. Timothy Drew, known to its members as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey, a booming industrial city. After some difficulties, Ali moved to Chicago, establishing a center there, as well as temples in other major cities. The movement expanded rapidly during the late 1920s. The quick expansion of the Moorish Science Temple arose in large part from the search for identity and context among Black Americans at the time of the Great Migration to northern cities, as they were becoming an urbanized people. Competing factions developed among the congregations and leader, especially after the death of charismatic Ali. 3 independent organizations developed from this ferment. The founding of the Nation of Islam by Wallace Fard Muhammad in 1930 also created competition for members. Wow. So what I'm reading here is they founded themselves off of this. In the 1930s, membership was estimated at 30,000, with 1/3 in Chicago. During the post-war years, the Moorish Science Temple of America continued to increase in membership, albeit at a slower rate. All right. So I just took like brief stuff from there. Now we move in to what the Noble is saying grew off of them. The Nation of Islam in the 1930s. And so they have that Farad Muhammad first, then Elijah Muhammad, then Malcolm X, and then Farrakhan. So I don't know if Farad Muhammad is a mulatto or if he's white. I can't tell. Huh? I really can't tell. I don't know if he's mulatto or if he's white. They got so many damn weird pictures of this guy. It's like he's the unseen. So I don't know. Maybe somebody else could. When later on when I open up. Then we get into the Nation of Islam. It's a religious and political organization founded in the United States by Wallace Fard Muhammad in 1930. Now, that's supposed to be this, what it appears to be, white guy. I don't know. But my thing is this. These are not race identities. And I'm wondering, is Nation of Islam a nationality? Is Moors a nationality? And if it is, then I'm it's they're not saying that it's from America. Okay, but anyway, a black nationalist organization, the Nation of Islam, focuses attention on the African diaspora, especially on African Americans. Again, that word was not used back then. Back during the Malcolm X time, we was called either colored or Negro. Our ancestors, our records that we have named our ancestor as either colored or Negroes. While it identifies itself as promoting a form of Islam, its beliefs differ considerably from mainstream Islamic traditions. Scholars of religion characterize it as a new religious movement. It operates as a centralized and hierarchical organization. The nation teaches that there has been a succession of mortal gods, each a black man named Allah, of who Fard Muhammad is the most recent. It claims that the first Allah created the earliest humans, the Arabic speaking, dark skinned tribe of Shabazz, whose members possessed inner divinity and from whom all people of color are descended. It maintains that a scientist named Yaqub then created the white race. The whites lacked inner divinity and were intrinsically violent. They overthrew the tribe of Shabazz and achieved global dominance, setting itself against the white dominated society of the United States. The Nation of Islam campaigns for the creation of an independent African American nation state. And calls for African Americans to be economically self-sufficient and separatist. A millenarian tradition. It maintains that Fard Muhammad will soon return aboard a spaceship, the mother plane, or mothership to wipe out the white race and establish a utopia. Okay, that's way the fuck over my head. They talking about spaceships, a plane, or a mothership. It's kind of sound like some of the shit them Hebrews was talking about. But I'll keep going. Members worship in the building called mosques or temples. Practitioners are expected to live disciplined lives, adhering to strict dress codes, specific dietary requirements, and patriarchal gender roles. Wallace Fard Muhammad established the Nation of Islam in Detroit. He drew on various sources, including Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple of America, black nationalist trends like Garveyism, and black oriented forms of Freemasonry. After Fard Muhammad disappeared in 1934, the leadership of the Nation of Islam was assumed by Elijah Muhammad. Okay, how the fuck do you disappear? Where did he go? You established something and then you disappeared shortly after. That's troubling to me. He expanded the Nation of Islam's teaching and declared Fard Muhammad to be the latest Allah, attracting growing attention in the late 50s and 60s. The Nation of Islam influence expanded through high-profile members such as the black nationalist activist Malcolm X and the boxer Muhammad Ali. Deeming it a threat to domestic security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation worked to undermine the group. Following Elijah Muhammad's death in 1975, his son, Warith Dean Muhammad, took over the organization, moving it towards Sunni Islam and renaming it the World Community of Islam in the West. Members seeking to retain Elijah Muhammad's teachings reestablished the Nation of Islam under Louis Farrakhan's leadership in 1977, which is what I remember. Farrakhan had continued to develop the Nation of Islam's beliefs. For instance, by drawing connections with Dianetics and expanding its economic and agricultural operations. Based in the United States, the Nation of Islam has also established a presence abroad with membership open only to people of color. In 2007, it was estimated to have 50,000 members. The nation has proven to be particularly stressful at converting prisoners. The Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League have characterized it as a black supremacist hate group that promotes racial prejudice towards white people, anti-Semitism, and anti-LGBT rhetoric. Muslim critics accused it of promoting teachings that are not authentically Islamic. Wow. Muslim critics accuse it of promoting teachings that are not authentically Islamic. Wow. So now we move to 1964, a group I am just like dumbly on. The 5% Nation in 1964. I was not born yet. There appears to be a flag in the name of Allah, like a star with a circle, with a star, with a 7 in here. The 5% Nation, sometimes referred to as the Nation of Gods and Earths, NGE, or the 5%ers, is a black nationalist movement influenced by Islam that was founded in 1964 in the Harlem section of the Borough of Manhattan, New York, by Allah the Father, who was previously known as Clarence 13X. And before that, Clarence Edward Smith. Members of the group call themselves Allah's 5%ers, which reflects the concept that 10% of the people in the world are elites and their agents who know the truth of existence and opt to keep 85% of the world in ignorance and under their controlling thumb. The remaining 5% are those who know the truth and are determined to enlighten the 85%. Oh boy. The nation of gods and earths teaches the belief that black people are the original people of the planet Earth and are therefore the fathers, gods, and mothers, earths of civilization. The nation teaches that supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet, a set of principles created by Allah the Father, is the key to understanding humankind's relationship to the universe. The nation teaches that the black man, insofar as the nation defines this race, is himself God, with the black race thus being a race of actual gods. Okay, interesting. The nation of gods and earth was founded by Clarence 13X after he left the Nation of Islam's Temple number 7 in Harlem, New York, the same temple where Malcolm X was a minister from 1960 to 63. Multiple stories exist as to why Clarence and the NOI parted ways. Some state he refused to give up gambling. Others state he questioned the unique divinity of Wallace Fard Muhammad, whom the Nation of Islam defied as the true and living God in person, or that he questioned Fard's godhood due to the fact that Fard was born of a white mother. One story states that he was disciplined by the Nation of Islam and excommunicated in 1963. But another version of events says that he left on his own free will. I'm just reading this. After leaving the Nation of Islam, he renamed himself Allah the Father. He was joined by Abdul Shahid, formerly John 37X, oh my goodness, who agreed with Allah's questioning of Wallace Fard Muhammad. Allah the Father and Shahid were nicknamed high scientists due to their intense study of lessons. Allah was also joined by Justice, formerly James 109X. God damn. And before that, James Howell, who would become one of Allah's closest associates until his death. Allah prophesied the streets of Harlem to teach others his views based on his interpretation of Nation of Islam teachings. After failing to reach elder adults whom he saw as already set in their ways, he found success with street youth. They go to the kids. On October 10, 1964, this young group formed the first 9 born of what became known as the 5% Nation, or later, the Nation of Gods and Earth. Allah taught his black male students that they were gods just as he was. He taught them that the astral twin of the black man is the sun in supreme mathematics. The black man is symbolized as knowledge. The black woman who came into Father Allah's growing movement to study along with the males, were taught they were symbolic of the planet Earth because women produce and sustain human existence, as does the Earth. Female five percenters are also referred to as wisdom, the nation of gods, and Earth's supreme wisdom states. Wisdom is the original woman because life is continued through her, cipher, her womb. The NGE does not consider itself a religion. Its position is that it makes no sense to be religious or to worship or defy anyone or anything outside of oneself because adherents themselves are the highest power in the known universe, both collectively and individually. Allah, the Father, developed a curriculum of 8 lessons that included the supreme alphabets and mathematics, which he devised, as well as lessons developed by the Nation of Islam's Elijah Muhammad and Wallace Fard Muhammad. The 8 lessons were taught in this order, which follows below: Supreme Mathematics 1 through 10, Supreme Alphabets 1 through 26, Student Enrollment 1 through 10, English Lesson C1 1 through 36, Lost Found Muslim Lesson number 1 1 through 14, Lost Found Muslim Lesson number 2 number 1 through 40, Actual Facts 13, and Solar Facts 9. Each 5%er was required to fully master each lesson and was expected to be able to think and reason by forming profound relationships between the lessons and significant experiences within life. The 5%ers were also required to share what they had learned with others and thereby recruit new members. And social political influence. Here we go. The FBI opened a file on the 5%ers in 1965, the height of the civil rights and Black Power movements in the United States. In disturbance by a group called 5%ers, the FBI refers to the organization as a loosely knit group of Negro youth gangs. These particular gangs emanate from New York City Public School number 120, which is a junior high school. The FBI file stated that the organization's name meant the 5% of the Muslims who smoke and drink. 1965 New York newspaper articles referred to the 5%ers as a gang, hoodlums, and terror group. Allah the Father and the 5%ers had a reputation for being unreachable, anti-white criminals, with the goal of preventing New York from having a race riot or uprising. New York Mayor John Lizzie sent Gary Gottner, the head of the mayor's urban task force, to meet with the organization the FBI had called a gang and terror group. Gottner stated Allah the Father was a nonviolent, but was dedicated to his community's well-being. Gottner and Allah began organizing picnics and airplane rides for the 5%ers that were funded by New York City through the Urban Task Force. Wakili Allah's book of In the Name of Allah includes a photo caption, Allah, in background, along with Mayor Lindsay holding a baby on airplane ride with 5%ers. In 1967, Father Allah, the Goddard's assistants, opened the Urban League Street Academy, which would become known as the Allah School in Mecca. In 1967, shortly after Allah and Justice started holding classes at the Street Academy, civil rights leader Bayard Rustin and Massachusetts Senator Ed Brooke visited Father Allah at the Academy. In an article titled The Five Percenters published in the New York Amsterdam News, Rustin wrote, "We might all applaud the Street Academy as one of the most constructive contributions to the maintenance of stability in the Harlem community, as well as creating an effective instrument for the rehabilitation of young men who might otherwise have no choice but the streets. Besides their academic and social activities, the five percenters told me that they pursue a spiritual ideal of helping others discover a true knowledge of themselves. They said they are neither anti white nor pro black. Allah the Father stated that he was neither pro black nor anti white. In his national statement given a Brookdale College of Monmouth County, New Jersey in 98, Dumar Wade Allah, national spokesman for the NGE, stated that we are not anti white nor pro black. In fact, we have white five percenters. NGE websites and articles state we as a collective are not anti white nor pro black. We are pro righteous and anti devilishment. They have been from the organization's inceptions, five percenters of various ethnics. The most well known Caucasian five percenter is John Michael Kennedy, who met Allah in 1965. Allah proclaimed Kennedy a righteous man and renamed him as real. Michael M. Knight's The Five Percenters include a photo of gathering of five percenters that include Barkham, who Knight describes as one of the earliest white five percenters, and his siblings. Knight's book also includes two photos of Allah with Goddard, who Allah called Moses. In 2018, members of the 5% Nation and Harlem community members applied to the Transportation Historic Preservation and Landmarks Committee of Manhattan Community Board 10 to have the northwest corner of 126th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard in Harlem, New York, codenamed Allah, Justice, and the 5% Square. The application and subsequent proposal were approved by Manhattan Community Board 10 and the New York City Council. In March 2019, the intersection of the 126th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard in New York was officially codenamed Allah, Justice, and the 5% Square. Conflicts. After the founding of the Allah School, the gods and earths became more influential. Upon the April 1968 assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., it quelled a potential rebellion inside Harlem. Allah was assassinated June 13, 1969, at 21 West 112th Street in Harlem, the residence of his wife and children. There have been rumors and theories about assailants and motives, but the murderer remains unsolved. Damn. The murder was a blow to the movement, but according to the direct orders of Allah before his death, some of his earliest disciples, a group of 9 men who were called the first 9 born, carried on the teachings, and his friend Justice assumed an acting leadership role. The FBI's labeling the 5%ers as a gang in 1965 has caused much trouble for gods and earths in the United States. The gang label has caused individuals with even remote NGE affiliation to be designated as security threats in jails and prisons in Michigan, New Jersey, New York, and South Carolina. NGE literature has been banned from penal institutions in these and other states, and inmates have been denied privileges enjoyed by those of other persuasions. Such rules were relaxed in 2004 in New York to allow registered, sincere adherents to study teachings personally, but not share with unregistered inmates during their incarceration. Its newspaper, the Five Percenter, condemns the states who impose restrictions on their practice as those who attempt to define us in ways that seek to criminalize us. In Michigan, the nation challenged a ban on the group's literature among prison inmates after an inmate was designated a security threat until he renounced his membership. Judge Stephen Whalen found no evidence that the group advocated violence and recommended that it be recognized as a legitimate belief himself. The men of the 5% nation view themselves as gods, both individually and collectively, as the original man. According to the 5%er newspaper, God first means that it is no longer a judicial argument. Centered means everything we do is about God. Culture is the practices and principles of a people at any given time. Gods and earths sometimes refer to themselves as scientists, implying their search for knowledge and proof. The teaching of the nation of gods and earths are passed on through a modern oral tradition. The advancement of a god or earth is based on his or her memorization, recitation, comprehension, and practical application of the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet, and also the 120 lessons, sometimes referred to as degrees, as revised version of the supreme wisdom lessons of the Nation of Islam, originally written by Wallace Fard Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad. The anthology Knowledge of Self, a collection of wisdom on the science of everything in life by supreme understanding, details the teachings of the nations of gods and earth. Wakil Allah has written, In the Name of Allah, a history of Clarence 13X and the 5%ers and the naked truth from the gold mine of Abdul Shahid, the elder of the nation of gods and earth. 5%. The term 5%er is taken directly from the 5% who are described in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2 of the Nation of Islam. The lesson groups the people of the world into 3 categories. 85% of the world's population are described as uncivilized people, poison animal eaters, slaves from mental death and power, people who do not know the living God or their origin in this world, and they worship that which they do not know. They are easily led in the wrong direction, but hard to lead into the right direction. 10% of the world's population are described as the rich, the slave makers of the poor, who teach the poor lies, to believe that the Almighty, true and living God is a spook and cannot be seen by the physical eye, otherwise known as the bloodsuckers of the poor. 5% of the world's population are described as the poor, righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10% and are all wise and know who the living God is and teach that the living God is the Son of Man, S-U-N, of man, the supreme being, the black man of Asia. What? I'm not. And teach freedom, justice, and equality to all the human family on the planet Earth. The universal language, the supreme mathematics, and supreme alphabet are key concepts in the 5% nation. The supreme mathematics is a system of understanding numerals alongside concepts and qualitative representations that are used along the supreme alphabet. The supreme mathematics is thought to be the highest system of numerology in the NGE, used to give qualitative value to numbers in addition to the quantity. How the values associated with each number were derived are currently unknown. The numerals are as follows: 1, knowledge; 2, wisdom; 3, understanding; 4, culture and freedom; 5, power of refinement; 6, equality; 7, God; build or destroy is 8; 9, born, which is birth; and 0, cipher. I thought they said that was the woman's womb. So the woman's womb is cipher. The supreme alphabet is a system of interpreting text and finding deeper meaning from the Nation of Islam lessons by assigning actual meanings to the letters of the Latin script. For example, the first letter A stands for Allah. The 12th letter L stands for love, hell, or right. And the 13th letter M stands for master. The supreme alphabet was developed by Allah the Father in justice. The method by which letters were associated with certain values is unknown. Customs. The 5% nation hosts events known as universal parliaments in various cities, usually once a month, to build on their interpretation of the supreme mathematics lessons and to discuss business concerning the NGE. These meetings usually take place in public areas and can be held anywhere. Because the NGE defines itself as a way of life and not religion, the nation generally does not observe religious holidays, including those associated with Christianity or Islam. Many 5%ers honor Allah the Father birthday, February 22nd. Ain't that Abraham Lincoln's birthday? Well, anyway, and or the official founding of the nation, October 10th, with special events on parliaments. The Show and Prove is an annual event that takes place in Harlem every second weekend in June. Similar to adherents of denominations of traditional Islam, 5%ers abstain from eating pork or any pork-based product. According to 5%er Universal Sham God, I don't know how to pronounce that, Allah the Father stated 5%ers should avoid eating small scavengers such as shrimp and also avoid lobsters, crabs, clams, and oysters. Some 5%ers take further steps and eschew meat altogether, often opting for strict vegetarianism. Allah the Father advocated eating one meal a day, every other day, or every third day, as prescribed in the Nation of Islam. Oh my goodness. Allah also a proponent of fasting, and many new adherents fast as part of an induction process. Teachings on one race. The teachings of 5% Nation have been accused of promoting black supremacy as the Nation of Islam. 5%ers believe that the original, we already read that. That the original inhabitants of the world were black, which they refer to as the Asiatic black man. What? And believe had inhabited the earth for 66 trillion years, who ultimately descended from the tribe of Shabazz, while the white race are evil devils who were created 6,000 years ago on what is today the Greek island of Patmos by a rogue, big-headed scientist named Yakub. The Bible and Quranic Jacob, who was the Meccan brand of the tribe. After the whites attempted to rise up against their creators, they were exiled to the caves of West Asia. What? After whites attempted to rise up against their creators, they were exiled to the caves of West Asia, what would later be known as Europe. Ooh, the Yakub origin story is the basis for all 5% of racial understandings. Oh my goodness. Gender perceptions. Some 5%ers have been accused of promoting male chauvinism and misogyny. According to the Prince Allah Kuba, since the death of Allah the Father, some gods have grown preoccupied with male supremacy. And this preoccupation has resulted in the minimization of all things female. From the crescent moon on the nation's flag being made smaller and eventually placed under the number 7 to the lack of parity in the God Earth dyad. According to the 5% nation, each member constitutes a divine being in his or her own right. Some males promote the minimization of women, as with Lord Jamar's lyric that woman is secondary but most necessary. What? Lord Jamar, woman is secondary but most necessary. Others describe the black woman as the black man's equal. In X-Clan song, Wiz Degrees, 5% of Brother J describes his partner as wisdom and the goddess manifest. Ladybug Mecca, a 5%er and a female member of the hip-hop group Diggable Planets, offers her view of the gender and divinity. It's just the end of this stuff. Almost. We need to know that there is a feminine and masculine principle or consciousness that is considered the God or the creator. It is not a male-like religion will tell you. It's a mother-father principle, a masculine feminine principle. The feminine principle is what gives birth to the universe. It's what brings creation forth. So there was to be an acknowledgement and respect for her in order to bring back the balance. In religion, in Christianity, and in Islam, in all religions, it's a perverted piece of the truth when it doesn't hold the woman on a pedestal. 5% are just I see equality. Equality Allah asserts that gender equality is an inherent aspect of Allah. How can women not be God as well as man? First of all, we are the arm, leg, the leg. We are the arm, leg, arm, headed Allah. There is no gender type. We all have the components that make the physical. Allah is the all in all. How can we be the all in all if all isn't included? When Allah the Father was alive, some female 5% are referred to themselves as goddesses. A 5% female named Tawana referred to herself as God. When challenged by some male 5%ers, Tawana defended her position and was declared by justice to be more God than some of the men. So then we get into, and this is the last portion of it, the Sunni Muslims, which pops up in 1975. Warith Deen Muhammad, and this is the last of it, you guys. Warith Deen Muhammad, born Wallace D. Muhammad, October 30th, 1933, and he died on September 9th, 2008, also known as W. Deen Muhammad, Imam. W. Deen Muhammad and Imam Warith Deen was an African-American Muslim leader, theologian, philosopher, Muslim revivalist, and Islamic thinker. He was the son of Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam from 1933 to 1975. In 1975, upon Elijah Muhammad's death, he became the Nation of Islam's national leader, supreme minister. In 1976, He disbanded the original Nation of Islam and transformed it into an ostensibly orthodox and mainstream Sunni Islamic movement. Oh my goodness. He rejected the previous definition of Wallace Fard Muhammad, accepted whites as fellow worshippers, forged closer ties with mainstream Muslim communities, and introduced the 5 pillars of Islam into his group's theology. This organization was called Balanians in 1975, World Community of Al Islam in the West, 1976-77, American Muslim Mission, 1978-85, and finally, the American Society of Muslims. Splinter groups which resisted these changes were formed after Elijah Muhammad's death, particularly under Louis Farrakhan, who would revive the Nation of Islam from final call for his organization in 1978. Farrakhan's NOI and the previous final call claim that they are direct continuations of the pre-1975 NOI and the pre-1975 final call. Muhammad was born Wallace D. Muhammad on Yemen Street in Hamtramck, Michigan in 1933. In 1992, he changed his legal name to Warithuddin Muhammad. Warithuddin Muhammad, which translates to inheritor of the religion of Muhammad. His parents were Clara and Elijah Muhammad, both highly active in the Nation of Islam, the organization that preached a form of black nationalism and its own version of Islam. From 1934 until he died in 75, Elijah Muhammad led the nation under the title, the Messenger of Allah. I remember that as a little girl too. Named to honor Wallace Fard, the founder of the Nation of Islam, Muhammad grew up in Chicago as one of 7 siblings. His elementary education came from the Muhammad University of Islam school system, later known as the Clara Muhammad Schools or Muhammad Schools. He briefly studied Arabic as a youth under Jamal Shakir Diab, a Palestinian who was later hired by his father to teach at the MUI in Chicago. Muhammad became a minister under his father in late 1958 and served in Philadelphia during the late 50s and 60s. While serving in Philadelphia, W.D. Muhammad commenced an extensive study of Ahmadiyya doctrines under Philadelphia-based Ahmadi missionary Muhammad Abdullah. On October 29, 1961, Muhammad was arrested for failure to report to Elgin State Hospital. Why are you going to be arrested from reporting to the hospital? The following day, on his 28th birthday, Muhammad was transferred to Federal Correctional Institute, Sandstone, to begin a term for having refused induction into United States military. He could have performed community service, but his father pressed him to accept the jail time. Damn. He spent most of that time studying the Quran, the main Islamic holy book, and the Bible. He became convinced that the Nation of Islam had to change. In 1963, he was released from prison and resumed studies under Muhammad Abdullah, close also to Malcolm X, who the NOI had expelled. He found that by this time his viewpoints deviated significantly from those of his father, whom he no longer believed to be a prophet. Oh shit. Because of this conclusion, he was excommunicated 5 different times. By 1974, he returned permanently to the Nation of Islam, reforming the Nation of Islam. Upon his father's death on February 25th, 1975, Muhammad was unanimously chosen as the leader of the Nation of Islam and introduced to the Nation of Islam membership as the annual Savior's Day convention on February 26, 1975. Among the first changes Muhammad instituted, he dropped the title Supreme Minister and took the titles Mujahid, Chief Imam, or simply Imam in 1976. The same year, he unveiled a new flag for the Nation of Islam community. There were just two of the many reforms which Muhammad introduced. Among others, he eliminated the NOI dress code, disbanded the military branch of the NOI, clarified the concept of the devil, and introduced an esoteric interpretation he labeled the divine mind body Christ. Huh? According to WD's former special aide, Dr. Naima Abkar, WD's teachings are not restricted to WD's followers, but will provide for the social community a series of readings which will cultivate and grow them more effectively as social human beings. Based on the most renowned religious teachings of a teacher in the West, similarly, via his various written works, Muhammad speaks newspaper and public speeches, he gradually introduced and explained Islam's 5 pillars. He started that Fard was not divine and that his father was not a prophet. All of the over 400 temples were converted into traditional Islamic mosques. He also renamed the community several times before finally settling on the American Society of Muslims to reflect the new thinking. Muhammad was frank about his intentions to evolve the movement. On November 19, 1978, he spoke on the evolution of the Nation of Islam at the American Academy of Religion in New Orleans. Muhammad's changes reached deep into the philosophy of the movement which his father had led for so long. He rejected literal interpretations of divine scriptures, his father's theology, and black separatist views, and based on his intensive independent study, history, and theology, he accepted whites as fellow worshipers. However, he also encouraged African Americans, Bilalians, to separate themselves from their past. In 1976, calling upon them to change their surnames, which were often given to their ancestors by slave masters. He forged closer ties with mainstream Muslim communities, including Latinos. He also decentralized power. On September 10th, 1978, in an address in Atlanta, he resigned as chief imam and appointed a 6-member council to lead the community. Muhammad felt quite keenly about his role in reform. In an interview which was published in Muhammad Speaks newspaper and conducted by his brother Jabir Herbert Muhammad, Muhammad described his role as the successor to their father as that of Mujahid, one who would watch over the new Islam or community. In 1979, he used the title Mujid on his byline in his weekly articles for the Bilalian News, the new title of Muhammad Speaks. Warith D. Muhammad received widespread support from the international Muslim community, but the changes which he made within the Nation of Islam were not universally accepted. Several dissident groups resisted, most notably those who followed Louis Farrakhan in breaking ranks with Muhammad. Those groups revived the Nation of Islam between 1977 and 79. At the outset of the 1991 Gulf War, Warith D. Muhammad became the only American imam to issue a public endorsement of the U.S. military bombing of Iraq. Two consecutive Muslim Journal issues featured the endorsement on its front page. The endorsement came on the eve of Aramaya shelter bombing. The following year, the United States Congress and Pentagon honored Wallace D. Muhammad for his loyal and unswerving religious leadership in support of our nation during the difficult times during the Gulf War. Muhammad described the invitation. I am like floating in the air. I never dreamed that we would receive such an invitation. When questioned about the Gulf War endorsement and called for Muslims to fight Muslims generated conflicts in his community, he replied, yes, it is a conflict. It is a conflict of emotions and a conflict of conscience for many. But for me, it is no conflict of conscience when I know that I am on the right side. Once I know that I'm on the right side, I have no conflict of conscience at all. I did not rush into any decision. I thought it out very carefully. So I thank America many times. I thank you again. I thank you. I thank the military. I thank the army. I thank all of you. I told my sons I would be proud if my sons were in the military. In 1995, Muhammad released a statement in which he expressed his concern about Farrakhan's motivations and the racial divisiveness of his ministry. Yet, over the next 20 years, the pair would embrace publicly. Warith Deen Muhammad declared, I will never denounce him as long as he says he wants to be a Muslim. They also declared reconciliation at the annual NOI Saviors Day Convention on February 25th, 2000, and NOI Million Family March on October 16, 2000. Still on August 10th, 2007, Muhammad repeated his frustration with the separatist stance of the current Nation of Islam, stating that its leaders had for the past 10 years or more just been selling wolf tickets to, threatening without substance the white race and having fun while they collect money and have fancy lifestyles. What did he say? He predicted quite he predicted a quite evolution in the Nation of Islam unity with the mainstream American Muslim community. And that is the end. I can't believe I read 14 pages. So, wow. I mean, and just read now, this is not a segment to trash any religious beliefs. It's just a segment to show the different organizations that our people scattered into after Christianity, after the indoctrination of Christianity, and I all the new learnings that they needed to learn and recite, and it's like after our people were threatened that they could not no longer practice their former ways, and they could not identify, they had to, say that they were black and Negro and colored, or they would get killed, just like they did with the Pequots. It's like after they got overwhelmed with Christianity, they began to venture off in these different organizations, and I showed the timeline, and the indoctrination of all of them combined is so much to put in your head, to the point where you completely lose the fact of who you really are. And these organizations were established way, way many years after our invasion and our enslavement as a people here in the Americas. And just after reading that, I see why it's dreadfully difficult for our people to wake up, because they're indoctrinated and brainwashed into these religions, and it's like difficult, especially for someone young on the street, because that's really who they are targeting, young street guys who don't know better. And by the time they figure it out, they're in their damn 50s and 60s thinking back, and that's painful. So we are terribly fragmented. And I mean, these different organizations did a number on our people. And it's like we're, even to this date, you guys, we're like fighting for a identity. And then you have organizations that's forcing you and persecuting you because you will not say you're from Africa, when what you do know is you're from here. And I mean, pushing this, and this is horrifying, to just like push this in our heads, push this in our heads, push this in our head, push this in our head. It's almost like being in a police interrogation, to where they keep interrogating you and to thinking you really did a crime and you didn't. It's like horrible. And if that's not a bruising of the head, I don't know what the fuck it is. And it's like, no wonder we have these issues of embracing and loving. The more we've been indoctrinated into these different directions in our lives, we can't even hug each other and say we love each other. And if we do, we don't mean it. It's like really fake. And it's just like no love. It's like dead in our, and the damage. I mean, none of us, so many of our people, they don't even think about being Aboriginal or American Indian to this land. And they're now learning. And it's just like shooting across the earth. Like, it's like a great awakening now. And I hope it continues. But I'm like, wow. Whoa. I often, now I grew up with, in my community when I was a little girl, I was very good friends with my next door neighbor, and I played with their daughter. I remember when their last name was Johnson, and then they changed it to Salahuddin. And I remember them. We played every day. She would come outside because she would be looking out the window, and I asked her to come out and play. We were little girls back in the 70s, and jumped double dutch. And she had to wear her long dress if she was coming out, the long white uniform they give, and the hat that they put over. She was so cute. And they were Aboriginals, and their last name was originally Johnson before it was Salahuddin. And their first name and last names were changed. And I remember that because I even remember as a little girl calling one of them Paul. His name was Paul. And then when it got changed, they immediately corrected everybody. My name is not Paul anymore. It's Mustafa. And I was like, wow. And they all, even though they were in the Nation of Islam, and their family was a huge follower of Malcolm X. Now, I always wonder where the Salahuddins went. Did they go with Wallace way? I don't think they went with Wallace D. Muhammad's way. I think that they stayed under the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, which would fall under Louis Farrakhan. They because they were just not. It was like I remember the outrage of the separation of Wallace going to the Sunnis or trying to move. I knew it was something that happened, but as a little girl, I just didn't understand something. It was a great division, and there were a lot of changes that he did make in the Nation of Islam because the women were now able to keep their hats on, their heads covered, but they were able to start wearing lipstick and eye makeup. They didn't have to cover their face no more. Um, I've seen some, but they had to keep cover their when they went inside the mosque, the temple. They had to dress in perspectively, respectfully. But when they came out, they were able to start wearing pants. So there were really a lot of changes made that Wallace made. But then he left, and everybody stayed with Farrakhan. It was just like I couldn't tell who was who. But they all seem to have that X after their name. And then I learned, no, he's not Nation of Islam, he's Sunni. And I'm like, oh, I was just like, I was done with it because I was confused of what was what. Um, so these organizations is really, I'm not saying that they're bad organizations because I do not have anything against the Nation of Islam. I respect people from the Nation of Islam. I really do because I grew up with them, you know, and I played with them and I understood them. And I actually always said that as a young woman, my family, we were just not in any real organizations. But I always did say, like with the Nation of Islam, I don't know if I was scared to join because I wasn't ready for a transition like that, or if I, I admire the way the men talk to the women and the women talk to the men. I would be nosy, be standing there listening and looking at how they were very disciplined. So the one thing I can say about the Nation of Islam, like when Malcolm X was in it and Farrakhan, you know, they really brought discipline amongst our brothers when they were in there, and I really liked it. I did. I I thought that the communication with the Nation of Islam man and woman was real sexy. I did, and I used to watch the movie um Malcolm X over and over and over again because I really liked how they. I don't think I would have been comfortable with the part of being chauffeured around on a date, but that's to prevent you from having sex, I guess. But I don't know. I just it's different. Um, I like it. I like it. I like to watch it. I just think that because I admire how I I admire how they teach you to the woman and man to communicate with each other and the brother and brother how they talk to each other. That's what I like. I like the communication in public. It's not embarrassing. It's like really hugely different from yo nigga. It's different from that kind of. It's different from street talk. It's like, and they do show you that they fall in love, and I really like it, but I just never been a part of it. Um, but I liked it. Um, but I see we began calling ourselves the religions that we went in. So that was a huge uh factor in us not remembering who we were. Like if our grannies didn't tell us, we probably would never known. And that's a fact. If granny never said Indian, and I don't know if everybody had the same like um experience this when your granny told you was Indian. Why did they whisper it to you when you're in the house? We Indian. Like, did anybody when they tell you why did they? I notice all grannies. We Indian. It's like a whisper instead of saying we Indian, like loud talking. We Indian. It was just like a whisper thing. We Indian. We're not. They talked very low. And I just thought that was very different. And I'm like, wow, for them to whisper it low like that when they're talking, like any other time you yelling and cussing, tell us to get your ass in that room and sit down. But when it came for you to say, when granny say, or grandpa, yeah, we Indian. When it comes to them saying that, they say that in a low voice. And I'm like, wow, was it that traumatizing for our third, let me see, I would say our fourth generation grannies were the ones who were beat and said that and hung and stuff and said that they better not say that they're Indian or who they were, or else they're going to get beat or threatened if they didn't say that they was like, colored and Negro and stuff. So it's like after the 1930s, anyone born in like the 1930s, and my grandmother was born in 1931, and back in the 80s is when we learned, the late 70s, when Roots came out. A lot of grannies told their families that they were Indians. That's when they told us. It was like massively across the states when Roots came out. When our grannies and grandpas told us that we were the Indians, and some of them literally came out and said, "What type of Indian?" Um, and that's just like crazy how that literally happened in like the 70s when Roots came out. It was like a massive check at the door from Granny and Grandpa because they sit and tell you stories. They would tell you the stories about the Indian Wars, but in instances we didn't know they was fucking talking about us. And they would sing songs about what happened in those type of wars, and the women were involved too. Like if they murdered someone, the women were quick. They were already knew to dig holes in the ground. It was just like crazy, and it was just hushed. So you're talking about fight and survival back in the 1930s and the 1920s. This kind of shit was going down in the South. It's fucking crazy. Like, and you getting in like the 1900s, in the late 1800s, and to be in the North, I guess the North is like bugging, like, damn, they still doing this shit. And, the hangings and shit, and it's just like crazy to know that this kind of shit was going on in the South and in the West Coast. Whereas here in the North, a lot of it stopped like literally in the early 1700s. That shit wasn't going on in the North. That shit was all over. And being in the North, and we had family who ran down here in the North to stay, to escape. When they ran away, they ran to the North. That's where the fuck they ran because they knew where they was going. So obviously, that's what another thing. Indians, when you hear runaway Indians and shit, our ancestors being runaways, they knew where the fuck they was going when they ran away. I mean, an African is literally not going to run beyond where he is because they don't know the fucking landmass. It takes an Indian to know the way and know where to run. An African does not know the landmass. Only an Indian. They know the trails, they know their landmass better than foreigners, way better. That's why they ran away, because they knew where the fuck to run. And how come you couldn't find them? They knew how to run from town to town and be gone. And they knew how to they knew how to get away on foot. And I say this when I start paying more attention closely. Like when I'm driving, I'm like, okay, when I'm driving, there's still foot routes from one state to the next state. You don't have to go by water. A lot of that shit is by foot. The animals know how to get across from state to state. So do goddamn Indians, because they had to hunt them. And I still look and I'm like, wow, you literally don't have to get on the highway to go to this state from state to state. You don't. It's always a foot route. And they knew the route in going in the woods. Now I'm scared. I like living in wooded areas, like where there's lots of trees, country. But in the woods, running in the woods, I have to probably be born in that time. But they knew how to run in them woods and hide and be in another fucking state. And I thought that's amazing, because the only way they could do that, an Indian know its land. They know how to get from the north to the south and the west. Because if they didn't, how the fuck did they run from South Carolina to Florida? That's a long damn drive. If you're driving on the highway, it's 9 hours. They knew how to get everywhere and they knew how to what you call bounce. That's what we call it here in the north. So that's why I say it's really important that we keep in our hearts, no matter what religious organization we go to, it's mandatory, it's imperative that we know our nationality, who we are as a people. What is a nationality? I'm going to open the panel, and I would like to hear your thoughts on the breakups and division, because when I really look at these organizations that were established, it's like they're all like the same thing. It's like really weird. It's just they read different books. I don't know. They're just like a birds of off each other, break off. I mean, it's when you look at it visually and you're like, wow, okay, there's a division. This is why we don't know who we are. Nation of Islam is not your nationality. 5% is not your nationality. Sunni Muslim is not your nationality. And Christianity is not your nationality. These are organizations, not nationalities. They're ways of lives. So I'm going to open the panel. I wanted to read that so you could clearly see the division. There it is right there. And even if people are not affiliated, a lot of people that are not affiliated with any of those organizations anymore, it's hard for them to break out of it, because it's hard to break out of it even when you're not affiliated with them no more. I noticed that people that were former Muslims or 5%ers or Moors or they all still communicate as though they're still members. It's like it's hard for them to get unindoctrinated off. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. It's hard for them not to make reference to it, because the indoctrination does something on your, it literally does something to your brain. It causes you to, it causes you to not be able to connect with everything. It's like really weird. For real. So I put the link in the chat. I will come on up. I will pin this to the screen. Come up and give me your thought, because I'm in no or religious belief organization. I'm just maintaining who I am on this landmass. That's what's supremely important to me, is maintaining who I am. So I'll never forget. And it's like the 1930s, those grannies that were born in like the 1930s are the ones who really put this shit back in our heads, Indian. And I don't know. It's like okay, you said we're Indian, but they didn't know how to say that. Some of them say you're from here, you didn't come from Africa. That's cool, but they didn't dare say like this is your land. They stole it. I wish they had of. But I'll give you a few minutes. Y'all smash the like button, please. I'll give you a few minutes to get up here because I want to hear your thoughts today. I do. Let's go, y'all. I'll be back. I'm going on my break.
Long live Ag. Yeah. These are my memoirs. Light up a cigar, smoke up the memories as I sit and dust them off. Why do people say it's just to piss you off? Ignore them, no call button and then dress too par. Now they can't test the gods, had to defy the odds. It only get tougher back then, we thought times was hard. Told them don't write me off, told them don't type at all. To all the ones that gave up, this a reply to y'all. That wavy haired kid that you knew, been on a tear since. The crowds was lower than the laughter, now that I'm hearing the praise for staying committed to something they played with. It was always about us, it's never about who's your favorite. Took my insecurities and made my future more secure. The way we moving, it's like we really been here before. The proof is in the progress from the year before. Furthermore, we wanted the further things more. They took another route, so what you think we kings for? No angel ever said, yo, who these wings for? Ain't no champion ever said, who these rings for? So don't question what God doing, who you live for. Start accepting who you are and what you do it for. Doing less, doing more, it's really either or. Meet them halfway when one close, here go another door. Here go your dreams, what you running for? Head full of steam, cause you want it, huh? But it's in your genes, you was born a star. Yeah, damn, we done came far. The blessings soon pay off. I don't get a day off. Feel like the playoffs, they like, when y'all gon' take off? Dale got laid off, now we focused on trademarks. We just making hits after hits, no Adolf. Now they wanna eat off the same plate that I ate off. They really be brainwashed, I told them for trade-offs. Listen to these verses, these are thoughts that I brainstorm. People do me wrong, but nowadays I just pray for them. I've been under pressure, you can't tell cause I stay calm. I need peace and quiet, all I hear is the rain falls. Now all I see is green like my name was Draymond. I ISO the brand and you know we gon' rain on. Shout out to the fans from the jump that stayed on. Rolling every hour of the day till the pain gone. Now every time we drop, yeah, they know that is napalms. ISO.
So I'm like looking at some of the messages. Let me take this border down. I'm looking at some of the messages in the chat. And one message said that we're Asiatics. If I was Asian or Asiatic, My grandmother would have told me I was Asiatic. I'm not Asiatic. I'm not. I'm from here. Oh, Navid Poet. I can even see you back there. Can you just turn your camera on while you're back there so I can make sure that you're a person, Navid Poet? Just pop it on really quick because I want to make sure you're somebody and not gonna come up to porn bomb me. Navid Poet, I can't. All right, let me see. Hang on. I'll put up a banner, so I have to cover you. I'll protect myself. Okay, you turn your camera on. I can't see you though.
My
Can you? St-
I cover my computer. I cover my computer. I know, because I normally don't go on here.
All right. I don't. Who are you?
Who am I? This is Navi.
I don't know who you are, but anyway. Um.
This is Navi. You don't recognize
Okay.
my voice, Sister Bethy?
No, I don't. But it's okay. At least
It's
I
me.
know you're a real person.
Yeah,
Well, you
it's
got a
me.
loud background. Are you
Let
driving
me
a car?
It's my computer. It always gives that sound when I use my mic. Let me go back in and switch over and come in on my phone. You won't have that background noise. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me switch over. I'll be right back.
Anybody else want to join the panel? Can join the panel. I put the link in the chat. It's fine. You could come up. Okay. Um, I'm gonna wait until she switches over. At least I know she's a real person when she's ready to come up. I don't know. But anybody, I'm not Asiatic. If I was Asian, I mean, our grannies literally would have told us that we were Asiatic. We're not Asiatic. And I just cannot believe that. We are from this soil, North American landmass. We didn't come here. We were already here. All right, let me move this out. Because then, all right, are you there now?
I'm here now.
Okay, go ahead, sis.
Appreciate it. I love your presentation. There were some things that I found out that I didn't know. I came through the Moorish information. I didn't go through the temple, but I analyzed, I researched what I was hearing from the Moorish side, and I'm understanding why we're so fragmented going up the line through history in these 1900s. Um, but I don't know if you had a question. I can't remember because I was trying to get in here and switch accounts and all that other stuff. So.
Oh, well, I never been a part of the Moorish movement. I wasn't even educated on it. I really learned most of it by reading and studying when I came into YouTube, but I already knew that it wasn't something that my family was ever affiliated with. Um,
Okay.
but I mean, my whole purpose for today is just to show how we have been divided and why it's like it's almost impossible at this point for us to come together as a people.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult.
Um,
The the Indian information. When I came through, what I learned about the MSTA of A, Noble Drew Ali, and the Moorish Science Temple of America was within the past 8 years on YouTube. Okay, I ran into it some years ago and made a phone call, but I didn't want to switch religions because I was raised Christian. But it's the Moors that got me studying history and our
mhm.
history in particular. The reason why I went with the Moors is because it seemed that the American Indian stuff was so fragmented. Even though my grandmother told me that I was Indian, that her mother was full blood Indian, and then my uncle, her eldest son, of course, he acknowledges the same thing. Of course, he's living now; he's almost 90. Um, and then my father also said that we were Indian on the other side of our family as well. So there was no validation for that before, and it was so fragmented, like some of it can get now. Well, we're Yamasee, we're Iroquois, we're, Cherokee, we're Choctaw, we're Pequot, we're all the different things
Those are
that come
just the
down.
favorite ones picked by the U.S. as recognition, but there were thousands and thousands of more tribes
Hmm.
in this landmass. It wasn't just them. It's just those are the main ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Yamasee is a well known name, and a lot of people in South Carolina are from Yamasee. A lot of
Right.
people are Seminoles. A lot of people are it's so many different ones. A lot of you got Petey's, you got Santee Indians. It's so many different ones all over this landmass. But you just hear about the
The main
recognized ones
ones.
by the government.
Hmm.
The
Right.
unrecognized ones are all the ones that they took out of power. And the
Hmm.
reason why you got the main ones is because they went in with basically the union to dismantle and denationalize us.
True. I can't deny any of that. I mean, even when you talk about like Noble Drew Ali, not that you were mentioning him in particular, but they said that he was born on a Cherokee reservation and went
Mhm.
to New York with his uncle, or I mean, with his aunt, and lived up there, and she didn't treat him nice. But that he said also said that he didn't want to tell you who his parents was because he didn't want his followers to worship his parents. So that ties back into uh, Chief Ross, and Chief Ross don't look like my family as far as I know. But through the years, and like I said, this was like 2014 when I started looking at this and hung out with a lot of the Moors online. I mean, I've even met Taj Tariq Bey and Dr. G and everything, but most of my information has been from my own study because of what they say Noble Drew Ali told us to do, which was to study. Okay, I've already been in Christianity. I know what that looks like, the worship thing. But recently we ran into Arkansas. That's where my most recent families are from, and that's where you can see when Chief Ross comes in, but you got to step back a step further to see when those particular places were started and by whom and for what purpose and what businesses and where they came from. And that's the interesting part about studying the history.
Well, I didn't get my stance to study history from Moors. Like I said, I wasn't familiar with them. When I really started looking into my history is the Hebrews, because the Hebrews like to read, but the problem with the Hebrews is their book is their only source. The Bible is their
Right.
only source. They really don't have any other source. So they're severely and overly horribly indoctrinated with the Bible. That's the only source they have. And they believe it at face value, which is very dangerous, which explains their heavy indoctrination.
Right. I don't buy that either, but I bought, you know,
Mm-mm.
there was the familiarity, coming from Christianity, the familiarity that the so-called black people were like the Hebrew Israelites, and that's the one of the ways they got us to gravitate to that particular story, and that's going to be one of the hardest things for us to unravel because we really want to embrace that to say that we're somebody because it's written in a book, but our history is deeper than that,
Way deeper,
way
way
deeper.
deeper. I I just don't feel that, and it's sad to say that our people ever come together. I think it just doesn't seem like it in this lifetime anyway. Um, it's terrible. Um, because religious organizations are doing so much horror. They're scamming people and lying to them,
Oh
and
yeah,
teaching,
it's a dirty game. Hmm.
yeah, teaching them these processes. And when you look at it, and like, you just created a corporation. All you needed to do was contact an accountant. They could help you did that. But they teach it in a manner where the people won't grasp that that's all they're doing is creating a business using
Right.
their name. And it's like, I was just so overjoyed when Ali Muhammad came and shut all that paperwork down.
Well, you know, somebody's gonna resurrect it.
They can't resurrect it because they ass gonna go to jail, all of them. And I mean, literally, literally, if somebody reports them doing that paperwork, they can really go to jail.
It's happened before,
It's bad.
but it,
It's happening all the
you
time.
know, it goes
They're being
along with the.
watched.
It goes. Yes, I mean they were infiltrated a long time ago. Okay, they were infiltrated back there with Noble Drew Ali. You should look a little bit more into his story and see about his alleged
God,
poisoning and assassination.
I'm not even interested in.
But
I
I understand it, but it is why we're here today.
What's why we're here today?
The fragmenting of the groups and the taking of different criteria.
What groups? I don't understand what you mean. I'm losing you.
Excuse me. Well, from my studies, Elijah Muhammad and Farad mixed and mingled, but they come out of Drew. Um, Farrakhan comes out of Elijah Muhammad. That takes care of your NOI. Then they have their
Yeah,
splinter
that's why I
group.
have this timeline.
Hmm. Right. And then also when you look at the five percenters, that's another splinter group. And the Nuwapians is another splinter group. That's why we're here today. But our
Well,
history
we're
goes
here.
back further than
We're
that.
here. Well, of course, our history go back farther than this. Like I said, these organizations didn't establish until the 20th century.
Right.
So this is way after these organizations established way after the takeover of our land and the removing us from our land. All this happened before that.
True.
All these organizations came out way after.
Hmm.
Our people began looking for some type of coping mechanism,
Hmm.
and these are those institutions that rose up, and they're so indoctrinated into them that they forget who they originally are.
Yeah, that's why I try to be kind of creative in the way that I say things and use a little bit of my own personal common sense when it comes to it. And the way I said it in the confusion while I was going through it years ago, I said it like this. I have four children. I named them all something different. They all call me the same thing. And that's kind of what it is,
Well,
in my opinion, if you catch what I'm saying.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I, I just I just feel that the best we can do is make sure our children and grandchildren understand that this is their land. That can't
Right.
be taken away from them. Being in these organizations take you away from this land psychologically and physically.
I will agree with you to a certain point because when I had to look at, it's like this. Me and my sister was looking at this information, my elder sister. She went one way and I went another way, and we were going to come back together and give our assessment on what we thought it was. And so I saw the split in which what I was looking at, and then I had to make a decision. And I went with the Moors to look at the information because they had good information that I've never heard before. And when I talk about the I'm sorry, my daughter just came back in the truck. Um when I talk about Noble Drew Ali being born on a Cherokee reservation, that tied me to home. And he also, from what I study now, it might not agree with Temple Moors or anything like that, but we're not associated with any back to Africa movement. Okay, there's a connection, and I think in some places people have tied the foreign narrative to the organic narrative while saying they haven't. It's so mixed and mingled. It's hard. Okay.
Yeah, but
Um.
despite that,
Mhm.
what I read and what I studied, this man spoke of Africans or that landmass. They spoke of
Who?
Africans,
Who?
Moors. Noble
Oh,
Drew
I'm talking.
Ali. I just read
Um.
it. I just read it. He didn't say
Which
nothing
letter?
about we're indigenous to America.
Mm,
I didn't
okay.
never in none of the readings that I read about Noble Drew Ali did he mention we're indigenous to America. They speak of Africa.
Okay. I will. I'll
I
concede
couldn't
that. The
find
only
no
thing that I'm
I
gonna
couldn't
say.
find no
Only thing that I'm
documents
gonna
where
say.
I'm
Only
trying to
thing I'm gonna.
find research
Mhm.
and information where this man that founded the Moors Science Temple, Noble Drew Ali, I'm trying to find information where he specifically states that we're from this landmass and not from Africa.
Okay.
Because you can't be from Africa and be from here.
I get that.
So I'm like, so that's like the first turn off for me. I'm not, it's a terrible turn off, and it's a throw off to our people. If our grannies are telling us, our grannies that was born in 1930s is telling us that we Indians and we from here, then that's not the same thing that Noble Drew Ali is saying. Now, today, his members or people that are associated with this religious organization or this temple are saying that they're aboriginals to the America. But then you got
Mhm.
another group that say they're from Africa.
Yeah, it's a lot of
So I
stuff
mean,
out
how are you
there.
gonna say you are more and Noble Drew Ali, it's like you're not speaking what Noble Drew Ali is speaking. He did not say, I didn't hear Noble Drew Ali say in any of the writings that he was from the North American landmass. It's
He tells you
always
that he
been
came
Africa.
from. He tells you that he came from. He was born on a Cherokee reservation.
Right, Cherokee Reservation, but he still teaches that he came here as a slave on a damn ship.
Where does he say that? Where does he say that at?
I just read it to you.
I don't remember hearing anything about him saying that he came on a slave ship.
Africa, came from Africa. That was one of the first things I read
I might
when
have
I
been
was
doing
reading.
something when you said that.
Yeah, they were the first group that I read when I started. And
I'm just gonna say this, Sister Bethy. It also goes back to your own personal thing, because there's certain things that no matter what he said, no matter what his group said, no matter what his
well, how
all
can it be my
the
own
people.
personal thing if this
No, no,
man?
no, no. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to explain something here. It goes back to what you know about yourself.
But I can't. Why would you be in an organization? Why would you be in an organization that doesn't have shit to do with your place being here? Clearly, the Moorish Science Temple of was incorporated under the Illinois. I read it right here. One primary tenet of the Moorish Science Temple is the belief that African Americans are of Moorish descent, specifically from the Moroccan Empire, according
Who
to
wrote that?
Ali. Okay, excuse me.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying who
You
wrote
get
that, because
this?
I don't remember him calling us African American.
I didn't
I
say
remember him
he
telling us that
said
we're
that
not
you were.
nick.
I
That's
did
the
not
point.
say he said you were. No, I did not say that. Noble Drew Ali said that. I'm telling you right here what he's saying. According to Ali, This area included other countries that
Wait. Who's
um
Ali? You talking about the Ali? What Ali are you
Noble
talking
Drew
about?
Ali. No, there's only
That's what I was
one
talking
Noble Drew
about. You,
Ali.
I don't remember him saying that he was African American though.
Okay, if you go on their website, and it also tells you the Moorish Science Temple of America is an American national and religious organization founded by Noble Drew Ali, born as Timothy Drew. In the early 20th century, he based it on the premise that African Americans, well, we know they didn't use that word back then, are
Okay.
descendants of Moabites and thus are Moorish. So how the hell are we going to be Moabites? That's
We
not
we've
what our
had
granny told
we
us.
had some
That's not what
fights.
my granny told us.
My mind didn't either tell me that either. We've had some fights in the information.
Okay, but
And I'm understanding that you're looking at the Moorish Science Temple of America. He also had what they call the Divine and National Movement, and that wasn't temple affiliated. There's been three different changes within that, and the last one was to bring civics in because he said he had to change up some stuff because they were basically infiltrated. Okay.
well, I'm reading. I got to that part too. An organization with the headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, claiming to be the only Moorish Science Temple teaching the full national side of the Moorish movement. And now he's saying Moorish movement has nothing to do with Indian, has nothing to do with North American landmass. He's saying Moorish movement is the Moorish Science Temple with the registered business name of the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc.
And you're
And
talking
Moorish,
about the organization.
right, and Moorish American National Republic. Moorish and Indian is two different words. One of the primary tenets of the Moorish Science Temple is the belief that African Americans are of Moorish descent, specifically from the Moroccan Empire. This is North America landmass, Turtle Island. This has nothing to do with Moroccan Empire.
Yeah,
According
but
to
this also has
Ali,
something to do with the Spanish. It has something to do with the French. It has something
that's
to do with
still
the British.
okay. Moroccan Empire is not here. It's telling you
I'm not
literally here.
arguing whether the Moroccan Empire is. I'm just telling you the way that I came through to get to the understanding that I'm having. I have not been in the
Uh,
Moorish Science Temple. I'm not
okay.
defending the
Well,
Moorish Science Temple.
this is what I'm reading, and that's what I'm trying to get people to talk about. What I read today.
I'm
According to
sorry.
Ali, this area included other countries that today surround Morocco. What other countries surround Morocco? To join the movement, individuals had to proclaim their Moorish nationality. I'm. What about my Indian nationality? What about my Aboriginal nationality?
Right.
Noble Drew Ali is saying you got to claim your Moorish nationality,
Hmm.
and then um, they were given nationality cards. This is
I
what
have one.
more. This is
I
what
don't have the
Noble
one
Drew
that
Ali and
National
them are
Noble Drew
doing.
Ali
They're
did, but
giving
I
them
have one.
Moorish nationality cards. I don't want no Moorish. I would never. If my granny told me that I'm Indian and this is my land, I want some shit with Indian on it. In religious texts, adherents refer to themselves racially as Asiatics of the Middle East is also Western Asia. This is these are this is the process being with the Moors. This is
Okay, I
what they're
get you.
saying.
I get you. Let me throw this one
So
up here. Let me throw this one up here. You were with the NOI, weren't you?
never ever
What was the religious organization that you was with that had an Islamic tint to it that had you eating a pork chop sandwich across the street?
never been in no religious organization. I worked with like the Hebrew Israelites. I studied with them, but
Oh,
I
so Hebrew
never
Israelites. That's who you were with. I'm sorry, my
I
bad. I
yeah, but
thought
I
you
was
were with
only
the
with
NOI.
them. I was only studying with them. I wasn't like a member, like dead hard. Like, I wasn't into that. I did stupid shit with them because after I learned their teachings, I clowned them and got out.
Okay,
It
we
wasn't
just
something that I wanted.
got you. Okay.
So no, I didn't. I was not in this shit. I
So
wasn't.
you studied with them and you learned better and you moved on, right?
Yeah, on the street. I studied with them. I went in their little temple, but I found out that there was something wrong
Expensive
with
as
them.
hell. I don't know if I'm ordering
Same
that.
thing with the Moors. Same thing with the
Huh?
Moors.
Yeah, but they don't teach that. Neither do the Hebrew Israelites. They think their ass came across the water.
They've been fighting with folks for a while, the whole debate thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is what turned me off. I'm like, Granny said we Indians. Why would I call myself a Moor? Granny said we Indians. Why would I call myself a Hebrew Israelite? Granny said we Indians. Why would I say I'm from the Nation of Islam? They turn to Mecca and pray. Granny said we Indians. Why would I call myself a 5%er? Granny said we're
Mhm.
Indians. Why would I call myself a Sunni? So I'm like, this is where I'm like, I crossed the line. I said, I got to stand on what Granny told me.
I get you. I get you, Sister Bethy. My thing is about the information, about the history, because I think that most of it is like a placeholder for growth. Not that everything's right and exact on it at all, but okay, like with what you were talking about the Sunni, I think you had Sunni down there on at one point, right?
That came
So
out in
like
1975 by Wallace. Let me see. W.D. Muhammad, his son, he started the Sunni stuff. That
right,
W.D.
I only got a little bit of his information to know about the division that was going on in the Nation of Islam because I'm from Wisconsin. So, yeah, and I've lived in Chicago as well. And I'm like, Chicago is kind of messed up, but yet here's this mosque sitting there, and I don't want to be a part of that particular division. Not that Christianity didn't have its own divisions, um, but at the same time, shoot,
But amongst
um,
all of them,
I'm sorry, at the same time, like you put down Sunni, some people say Shiite or something like that. I'm more, and the people that I was dealing with to a certain extent were more Sufi than Sunni. And even though there were some people who were Shiite in that belief system or in that way of life. So it's mixed and mingled, twisted and screwed. Everybody got to find their own way through.
but you're not going to find yourself being an Indian being in this. You
I found
cannot.
myself being an Indian being in
No,
that.
I'm saying that if you ever wanted it, like if you needed to declare your race identity and say you're aboriginal to this land, you are not
I've always
a
been though.
5%er. I
I'm
I
not.
mean,
You're right.
I
You're
mean, like if
absolutely
you
right.
can't walk
I'm
in there and
I'm
say
not
I'm a five
NOI.
percenter, you can't say I'm a 5%er. This is my land. You can't say I'm a Sunni or a Shiite. This is my land. That ain't got because none of those names have nothing to do. None of those identities or have anything to do with North American landmass. None of them.
Peace, peace.
We're talking.
I just wanted to say
That's
peace,
what
ladies. That's all. That's it.
our peace. I'm just saying. I mean, you can't. So why would I join something that doesn't isn't relative to
I
my
wouldn't
life?
recommend you join it. I wouldn't recommend you join any of them. We're doing a great job coming back to our American Indian status and awareness of who we are. For me, it was a placeholder. It got me here. I can't deny what I learned going through there because I wouldn't have been looking at everything. I would have been landlocked emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and all of that stuff because I wouldn't have been looking at other history. I found out more about my own history by looking at world history coming through the Moors. And that's why I chose them at first until it started to when I saw there was a final straw. Like you had your final straw and you went across the street and you ate your pork sandwich.
Yep.
There was a final straw with me. Okay. And part of that was following someone who turned around and called my niece a nigger. And the thing about it is the prophet Noble Drew Ali, who they call the prophet, said we are not Negro, black, or colored. Okay. And so for
But he
someone
was
to
a
call,
Moor. He
he was also
identified
born
as
on
a
the
Moor.
Cherokee. His
He
his mother
identified
was
as a Moor. Why wouldn't he identify who he was? Period. Point blank. Why even
Because there
change
was a
your?
lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of stuff going on in
I
history.
wouldn't have did that. That's the problem. That's the problem right there.
But that was his problem.
No, it's not. It's everybody's problem who's following him, calling themselves more. That's the problem. If they're Aboriginal or American Indian to this land, and you got a founder of a temple or whatever that organization is, now you got not only yourself knowing that you're an Indian, calling yourself a Moor, you got
Let me
every
ask you
fucking
something.
body following you, calling you a damn
I
Moor.
got you. I got you. Let me ask you a question, Sister Bethy. Do you learn something every day?
Yeah, you learn something every day. But when you're indoctrinated, I don't think I think if I was probably into the more science temple and didn't know any better and didn't have my grandmother tell me who I am, I don't think that I would have had a clue like these people. Same thing for anybody who is claiming an identity of someone who they're not. I mean, when I think of the Muhammad's, that's last name is not indigenous to the Americas. So
Right. There
obviously
was a
that's gonna
lot of
wake
shit.
me
There was a
up.
lot of stuff going on this landmass. Yes, there was a lot of stuff going on this landmass.
Yeah, but this stuff didn't happen until the 20th century.
Hmm.
Moors, Nation of Islam, 5% nation, Sunni. All this came about in the 20th century.
Well, where does the Zion Moorish temple come in at? Where does the
All this,
Canaanite temple come in at?
all from what I see about these particular organizations, I'm seeing them being developed in the 20th century. That's the 1900s.
Okay. And may I say something on that too? And I'm not here antagonizing or anything like that. The way that I look at that is that you had different things going on in that era. You had the Harlem Renaissance that was going on. You had the I'm gonna say, I hate to say it, I don't know if I got the right date, either the Divine Nine or the Boule or whoever the hell it was. You had them going on at that particular time as well. So you got other splinter groups that came up in direct opposition. Like if you look at the Moors and go all the way down to where we are now talking about NOI or whatever the case is, you can follow that trajectory. But at the same time, just like you have Islam on one side, you have Christianity on the other side, you have the scholars on one side, you got the Harlem Renaissance on one side, you got a lot of things going on. It's not just the Moors that are the problem.
I didn't say
And
it
then
was
you
just
have
the
them.
Moors. I didn't say it was just the Moors. I'm just speaking about the Moors, period. I said all of them. All of them are why our people are divided and don't know who the hell
Granted,
they are.
granted.
Christianity, I listed right here, bold
Hmm.
face. This is the problem of why our people won't come together, and it'll be difficult because this is who they think they are right here on the screen. Nothing up there says Aboriginal or Indian. Nothing in there.
Right.
And none of those
Let me
names.
ask you another may
So
I
it
ask
don't
you another
matter what
question?
was going on.
It does. But do you know that when you talk about your nationality, that you're actually talking politics and that religion, whatever you're looking at, even these organizations are dealing with politics?
I'm talking about who I am as a person, myself, my being. I
I,
am not a Christian. I am not a Moor. I am not from the Nation of Islam. I am not a 5%er. I am not a Muslim. I
okay.
am an American Indian
Can
of
we
this
start from
soil.
there? Because I'm an American Indian as well. Can we start from there?
No, because I don't. I for what then we shouldn't even. There's nothing else to talk about. You Indian. You Indian. I didn't when you came on this panel. I didn't say, "Hey, you're not an Indian." All I
I know,
said,
but you're concentrating on the Moors because I brought the Moors up. I was just trying to share information. That's all I was doing. And it
I'm
seems like an
concentrating
attack.
on all of them. And if you're taking it as attack, then maybe you shouldn't jump on the panel no more. Because as a
I
record
know,
stand,
Sister Bethy.
I
I know,
ran
Sister
on
Bethy. I
all of
know.
these. I'm
I was
speaking
just
on
trying to
all of
help.
them.
I was just
I
trying to
ran.
conversate with you. I was just trying to
Okay. So
converse with you. That's all
you
I was
know
trying
what?
to do.
You gotta have thick skin, lady. I'm talking about all of them.
But
I
see, if
got
I do what
5
you know,
different
if I
ones
do what you
here.
do, you gonna have a problem, right?
What? It's 5 different ones up here. You be on everybody panel,
I
and y'all
sure
just,
do.
it's like y'all don't get it, and y'all
I
don't
never
want to
said.
get
I'm
it.
not telling you
I'm
that I'm a
talking about,
Moor. I'm not
so
telling you that I'm a
okay,
Moor,
you
Sister
said you're
Betty.
focusing on the Moor. So I said, ma'am,
I
I
don't know
brought
about the
up the Moor.
NOI. I don't know about the NOI. I don't know about the 5%ers. I don't know
Okay,
about
but
the other
all
people that
right,
you were
so then,
talking about. So I
all
came
right,
to
so
share
then,
stuff about the difference
okay,
in some of the
but you
Moorish
did say
Science Temple
you're
stuff.
focusing on the Moors, and I'm saying, well, that's because that's what you're talking about. But I'm talking about all of them. That's why all of them are listed up here, whether you know about all of them or not. All I said was this is the problem of why we cannot determine
And I agree with you, Sister
and won't
Bethy.
come together.
I
But
agree
you
with you.
got sensitive and said that, oh, you're focusing on the Moor. Oh, well, I'm focusing on it because that's what you jumped up here talking about, the Moors.
Yeah, but you're talking about the Moorish Science Temple, and I keep telling you I'm not a part of the Moorish Science Temple. I'm trying to tell you
But
how I
that's all
looked
I
at it and
know
how I
about
got where
Moors.
I am.
That's
And
how
I'm
I
trying
know.
to share with you a little bit more about the
Okay, but
Moors.
you shared it. What else do you want me to say?
Not a goddamn thing, Sister Bethy.
Okay, then deuces. Take your ass up out of here.
No, I don't like this.
The
I don't
fuck you
like to
come
hear
up
the
here
sisters
for?
going back and forth.
Oh, well, you gonna hear it because you know how I am. I don't fuck around.
Man,
I don't give a
no.
fuck. What else the
You,
fuck
you
do you
forgot.
want me to say? You
You
said
forgot
more,
about the
so I'm showing you
Nuwabians
where I'm
too.
at. No, I
You
just
forgot to put
listed
them.
a few. I just listed a few major ones. That's all I did. That's all I
What
did.
was the
Was list a
Hebrews?
few major ones.
Were the Hebrews up there?
And I didn't even bother to list the Hebrews because I said they're a spinoff from the 4 that I got up there.
Yeah, we had so many
Take a little fucking
splinter
navigation
groups.
somewhere else. Huh?
Yeah, we had so many splinter groups within the you know, black people in America. So you got the different Hebrew Israelite sects. You got the Nuwabians, which talked about aboriginalism. So I got to give them that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of Moors that talked about aboriginalism. So would it be a thing to kind of divide yourself from a lot of Moors that say, hey, yo, we aboriginals. We just are Moors. Moors, because Moors are everywhere.
That's confusing to me, and it doesn't make sense. If Noble Drew Ali is giving a scenario or a bio on about the Moors, how the hell can you be an aboriginal to the Americas and calling yourself Moors? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's confusing and it makes no sense. I
Because they
don't
talking about the Moorish
see.
Empire. The Moorish
Yeah,
Empire spread and, you know, being
and
around
where is
West
the Moorish
Africa.
Empire? And where is it saying the Moorish Empire is? Where is the Moorish Empire? I
Well,
don't
I
see
guess
anything.
they at
And
first they used to say Morocco,
all right,
but
so
now,
but Morocco is not here. It's
uh-uh.
Morocco is not here, and that's one of the big problems that I have with the Moors. Morocco's not here when it
And they
comes
also do
to
a lot of colorist stuff.
when it
They
comes
do a
to
lot of
Muslims.
colorist stuff in Morocco. And Morocco is a lot of colorism going there with the darker skinned people, darker skinned Africans, even though people are like mixed in depending on which part of Morocco you go to. But the Moroccans I was debating with online, they was talking about niggas was slaves and all this other stuff. So it's a lot of stuff that a lot of brothers not going to unpack there that goes on with a lot of those Moroccans. They don't want to talk about that
Okay,
part.
all right, but and another confusing thing, all right, if this man knows his ass was born on the Cherokee reservation, how the fuck do you get Moor and Morocco and Asiatic out of that? Make some fucking sense. That's terribly confusing. You're saying you born on the Cherokee Nation, okay? And you know your ass is Cherokee in North Carolina, all right? You Negro, you born in North Carolina. Yet you're speaking about fucking Asiatics. That doesn't make any
Well, you got
sense.
to follow the dots. You know, a lot of them, a lot of like Sarah Soon said he did a build on a lot of them, and a lot of that stuff come out of Masonic lore and a lot of
Bullshit.
the spiritual stuff that was going on back in the day with Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society. You know, all that was looked at as exotic. So you used to see a lot of the even the white folks. If you notice back then, you remember you see the white folks around the crystal ball and they had those turbans on and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That was like the thing back then.
That's not our
And
history.
right, but brothers
That
started
has
getting
nothing to
into
do with
that
it.
though.
That's them getting into it. Doesn't have nothing to do with being Aboriginal to this
Yeah, I'm
landmass.
just saying, far as
That's
like
not
where
how
that's
our
coming from, right?
ancestors.
Yeah.
Right now, Spain, they dress like that shit that they be wearing. The more with the fucking diamond in the middle of a turban and shit. That shit is seen out in Spain. They do that shit.
Yeah.
They dress like that.
But remember, he worked at the circus too. Remember, they used to do that stuff at the circus and the fairs. The fairs, you go to the fair and they had the guy with the crystal ball and the turban on with the diamond and stuff like that. That was a thing because a lot of the white folks at that time was straight up snake oil salesmen. So they was getting that. They was traveling
Okay.
around getting folks money or whatever. And one thing Noble Drew Ali said he did, he
So
traveled
that's
around with the
something that
circus.
he so that's something he joined into. That ain't got shit to do
Yeah,
with
he
being
joined into
no
it.
Aboriginal or being from this landmass. Now, if you saw
Oh,
a town that little town they got out where in Kansas or I can't forget it, that's Morocco. That doesn't mean that that's Morocco. That's bullshit because the
uh-oh. You're
damn
going to have a lot of
the
backlash
damn
on
they
it.
can get backlash because the damn temple that's out there, they asses ain't even welcome in that fucking temple.
What is it, a
That
Masonic
temple,
temple out there?
those people that's out there that got that damn temple out there, they're not even from America.
Oh, shit.
They're not. They're the what? Those people over in that Middle East area or somewhere. That's their fucking temple. It's not no thing that was derivative of Noble Drew Ali. They didn't build that temple out
Mm-hmm.
there. Where is it? That town that they got? I can't remember if it was Kansas or Illinois where they got some fucking Morocco town. So they
Yeah,
trying
you
to
got a
run it. They
Cairo,
run it back.
Illinois. You got a Cairo, Illinois, and I mean, is that? I wonder, is that what you're talking about?
No, they got a town that says Morocco or something. I forget the town. I got to go back and look at my old segment or just look it up. But the people that are there are not niggas that go to that Moorish temple. And then
A lot of
with
them.
with the um Nation of Islam, they definitely think that they came here on slave ships. They have to because why if this is your land, why would you turn to Mecca and pray? That makes no sense.
Because how Islam spread it and spread it through how they came through with that sword and have folks,
That has nothing to do with this landmass. That's not something we did here. We didn't
But
do
my
it.
thing, go ahead. I'm listening. Sorry about that.
But I mean, that's not something our ancestors practice here. So by practicing something that our ancestors did not practice here, that's another thing that fucks up the community of who they are. If you're not practicing what our ancestors practiced, which was natural, spiritual stuff, then you're confusing the people of the land. You're doing shit that's not indigenous to this land. I say the same thing about the Hebrew Israelites. Excuse me, we didn't come across the water with Moses. That's bullshit. So
they gonna come for
I
you, Sister
listed,
Beth.
I listed. I don't care if they come for me. I listed all of them. None of them religions are indigenous to the Americas. I don't give a fuck how you slice it. Show your books that people wrote. Those people are not official people to this landmass. So you can write a book and all the fuck you want. I could write a book, but that don't mean that I have the power to say this is Morocco. I don't give a fuck who wrote the book. When this lands got invaded, they didn't invade people from Morocco. They didn't invade anyone that prays to Mecca, turns to the east. They didn't invade people that are claiming to be 5%ers. So, no, they invaded American Indians on this bitch. They invaded the first Americans. All this descriptive term shit is bullshit. Ain't no descriptive term. Those people are a people that actually exist over in the Middle East some fucking where. And they're not from here. You took on the name and the title and identity of another fucking religious organization beyond the fucking seas. The Indians, no Choctaws, no Chickasaws, no Yamasees, no Seminoles, no Petys, none of them ever identified as Moors, as Muslims, as 5%ers. None of them did back then. That shit wasn't even heard of. This is new shit that was established here in the 20th century. So come for me if you want, but you better come right. And now I'm not doing it. And that I'm just saying that's why our people are fucked up. And we'll never ever come together. I don't care. We're never coming together. We're doomed. We're fucking doomed. So if you don't roll with who you got, it's a fucking wrap. We will never come together as a people. We're too fucked up in religious ideologies.
But what is the Aboriginal spirituality though? What is y'all spiritual system?
It's just the natural spiritual earth. We didn't do things like they do, go in temples and shit. We just were natural people. We live naturally off the land. We praise the sun. We praise the stars. Everything that was natural. We didn't do the shit that they have established today. Everything was natural.
In Islam, that's taboo.
We were people of the land. Because I look and I read up. I'm like, we didn't do no shouting or all the stuff that they're doing now. We did not do as a people. I'm not finding that any of the Indians that were here did that. They made crafts. They made things. Everything they did was like natural. They ate from the land. They even fucking built from the land. They used what was on the land to build everything from the land. Food, building, all from the land.
Now, I just seen something that said the Cherokee was eating groundhogs and squirrels and stuff like that. I said, well, that's what they was eating
down south. That's why I love down south so much, because they still do a lot of the culturally things that the Indians did. So that's where I have my hope at with people with the southern lifestyles, because a lot of them, they go out there, they get frogs, they go get squirrels, possums, everything. We ate off the land. We ate what was ever indigenous.
I tried to say this. I tried to tell them this on Chief Holiday Show. I said,
what?
I said, folks, I know old folks that cook raccoon and everything back in the day. And they said they knew how to cook it. They got up here and they said they stopped eating it, but they cooked it down south.
Now, I'm from the north, but my family is from the south. Everybody beyond my mother is all from the south. And when I remember back in the 70s, when a lot of people moved from down south to the north in our hoods, and they did go in our backyard because our hoods was in very wooded areas, and they did go in the back and get possums and shit and skin them shits. And a lot of people from the south in the 70s did not like to go to the grocery store to get their chicken. They went to the chicken coops. They was like, oh, no, we don't buy chicken out the grocery store. They go to the chicken coops and hear it spinning the neck kind of shit. That's the way the people from the south in the 70s, they would shop for their chicken. That's how you knew they was from down south, because they would not buy their chicken out the grocery store. They wanted fresh chicken. My grandmother did that.
Yeah, I
don't know how they did that, but oh God, and popped the neck.
I had a black guy. He stayed next to me. He was from Mississippi. I'm up here in Detroit. He was from Mississippi. He had a pigeon coop, and he knew how to raise them pigeons and make them travel and all that. And then across the street, like, it was like around the corner, but kind of across the street, because it was a field right there. These folks, every morning you woke up, they had, because the police didn't come through there like that, so they didn't care. But they had roosters. They had roosters and ducks, and you hear the rooster cock-a-doodle-doo, doing all that in the morning and stuff like that. And they will slaughter it and they'll cook it. They're from down south.
They do that in here in the north too. They got in the rural areas though, like
But I'm saying we was up north, but they was from down. They had moved up north, so we still had all them people around.
Yeah, that's
but none
the
of the
way.
kids don't know how to do that.
Huh?
I think none of the kids don't know how to do that no more. But
no, they don't. And that's a shame. They don't know of that. They know just going to the grocery store. But people from the South know that. Still to this day, people from the South, North Carolina, all the southern states, they know the old way of fetching food. And a lot of people from the South still go to the chicken coop and pop their chicken necks to get their chickens. The South really is A1 on keeping our original culture. People from the South. And they have,
I think
they're heavy on the trades too in the South. A lot of young men, even if they got prison records, got fucking trade skills. Predominantly in the South, they have trade skills.
Well, the thing that messed up Detroit, crack. Once crack hit here,
every inner city, crack messed up. Like when men come from the South here to work trade jobs, Jamaican men are heavily jealous of them. Terrible. They try to get them fired, Jamaican men, because they're so jealous of the trade skill of the men in the South.
I thought Jamaicans and the brothers in the South would be cool. That's why, you know what?
I'm talking about the ones up here in the North. They, oh my God, they're terrible. They do not get along. They are severely jealous of men from the South with trades. They're always trying to get them fired. Always. And it never works. They end up getting fired. And that's why they hate them.
So the beef with the Jamaicans and American blacks on the East Coast is
it's terrible.
Something.
It's horrible. It's something terrible. The women too.
Because it's a lot of. You said who?
The women too. Because the Jamaican men keep messing with American women. While they work 100 damn hours a day.
Ooh-wee.
It's terrible. I'm talking in my city. What I see, what I grew up seeing in my city. In Connecticut. They do.
You go to Florida, everybody from somewhere else down there.
Yeah, Florida's a little different. It's the South.
Well, it seems like that on the East Coast too. It seems like everybody from the East Coast. Not everybody, but you'll meet your folks that's from here. But you'll meet a lot of black folks that's from somewhere else on the East Coast. You know, they from Jamaica, they from Haiti, they from some of the islands.
In Florida, a lot of people from the islands choose to move to Florida because it's closer to the island.
Yeah. But
a lot of them that live here in the North, when they retire, they move to Florida.
Yeah, but it's expensive. I went down there and folks talking about, when I was talking to them folks, they was like, yo, we're going to move to Texas because Florida and it got expensive as heck, especially after COVID. You know, Miami, you forget about it. I mean, you might as well live in, the weather is totally different than New York, but still, you damn near paying New York prices in Miami, and you don't get the same pay down in Miami because they don't really got unions and stuff like this. The South. They don't really got unions and stuff like that like they got up north. You can fight for a livable wage. You know what I'm saying?
The food down in Florida is just amazing.
Oh, man.
You'll never be hungry in that place.
I went to Panama City and had some fish. They caught it straight out the ocean. Best fish. First time me really tasting fresh fish. out the ocean in Florida. Florida, that food was amazing. Then we
That's
drove to
where my
New Orleans
dad.
after that. Go ahead.
That's where my dad's side of the family from, Florida, Tampa, Florida.
Oh, Tampa. They
Yep.
some Geechee folks.
That's where my daddy from, Tampa. All of them. The whole family on my dad's side, Tampa.
Yeah, I don't usually meet a lot of black folks up here from like I met a few people from Florida, but not too many. Like they either coming like Midwest. We mostly come like here in Detroit. We mostly come from Alabama, Arkansas. I talk to people on the East Coast. They coming from the Carolinas, Virginia, but mostly like the Carolinas or Georgia or something like that. And my folks, they came from Georgia. So when they split up, some came to Detroit, but the others went East Coast, like Boston and all them other little places and stuff. Because Georgia, most of them people will go East Coast. They would go East Coast and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of Alabama people here in Detroit, in Arkansas. But you go to Chicago, they got a bunch of Mississippi people over there. Like you talk to somebody from Chicago, like in the hood, they still talk like they're from Mississippi.
From Chicago?
Yeah, they still got that Mississippi accent. Mixed with Midwest, but they still got that Mississippi accent, you know. They still got that Mississippi accent and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna tell y'all what unites black people all over is Pan-Africanism.
Bullshit.
That's what
you start that. See, now you done messed up. You're gonna get cussed out like that lady. Don't start. Pan-African is dead. It really got slaughtered. Ali Muhammad went over there and slaughtered Yas King.
We ate first. The thing with Ali Muhammad Jabari doesn't know a lot of Aboriginal talking points.
Right.
Ali Muhammad needs to debate Raborn. Not a coincidence.
None of them are in his league. None of them.
Well, he's saying that slavery happened. What?
He slaughtered them. They did. They enslaved the Indians. You didn't hear them? You got to go listen again. They enslaved the Indians.
Every Aboriginal doesn't believe that.
I do. They enslaved us in our land.
There's Aboriginals that say we were never enslaved.
There's proof of
white
that.
folks.
Excuse me. There's proof of that. The Pequots. Go tell the Pequots that they weren't enslaved, and then they're gonna tell you how they got the casino. They enslaved the Indians. There was war down here. They did. We were enslaved here. So they
now the Pequots are that mixed tribe, right?
Big ass story that they brought African over here when they really enslaved all the damn Indians, us, and put your ass in inner cities. None of them boys over there is in Ali Muhammad's league. I wouldn't even, if I was him, I wouldn't even waste my time. He killed their God. He slaughtered Jabari. And I'm not saying that because I don't see eye to eye with Jabari, because I don't, and I probably never will. But he slaughtered Jabari. Jabari's whole coping mechanism was laughing and trying to rank on him when he couldn't, because Ali Muhammad looked way better than him. If I was him, I would not even talk about nobody. But he got slaughtered over there. And I think he was a little embarrassed. He's still showing the same stuff that he showed. I came in YouTube 4 years ago, and he's still showing the same papers, the same research papers, nothing new.
Well, they say he won the last 2 rounds though. They say Brother Jabari won the last 2 rounds. I didn't see the
community said that. They're biased. Of course they're going to say that. Mm-hmm. That's their God. That's their God. Listen, none of them dudes over there, none of them, 0, are in his league. Ali Muhammad really whooped their ass. That's the best debate where I seen somebody slaughter his ass. None of them dudes over there are in his league.
I gotta see it. I hope they put it out. So I can see it. You know what I'm saying? I heard
he didn't put that debate out.
It's not out now.
I don't know. What is he embarrassed? He's probably embarrassed because he did get beat bad. I was in the store. I just stay quiet. I was in
I
that
was on
room.
Ali Muhammad show. I was on there yesterday, but he got me off real quick because we were talking about the slave ship documents and stuff like that. So when we confronted him on that, he got us out of there real quick, because the thing is, you can sit there and talk about folks is Native Americans, no Africans came. We talk about Ali Muhammad, but I will start pointing specifics out to you when you go to the Carolinas, when you go to Florida, when you go to Georgia, when you go to Louisiana, and find these Africanisms that are still amongst us.
No.
You know, especially
Indoctrination.
we deal with hoodoo.
Indoctrination. Y'all keep forgetting that the only place the Europeans had in South Carolina was Charleston. They didn't have no other territories. That was their
Well, they were in Virginia.
South Carolina. What?
The slave master in my family, he went from Virginia and they moved down to South Carolina. I think I dare the Indian.
All right. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Everybody thinks that the whole South Carolina was the colony. No, it was just one area, and that's just Charleston. That was the only colony area that they were given. They didn't have the entire South Carolina. There were other Indians in all the other territories of that landmass. All they had was Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, them Indians they ended up becoming enslavers themselves, enslaving the black folks
because they knew how to work their land, and they were getting paid for it. But that was and what them Indians was doing, they was doing like niggas do today. Oh yeah, I do your land, give me $2,000, and they fucking take off with the money. That's what they was doing to them damn colonizers. But all they had was Charleston. They didn't have the whole South Carolina.
Charleston, you got to look up two ports
Virginia,
there.
they only had one area in Virginia. They didn't have the whole entire Virginia. Everybody keeps thinking that these colonizers had the entire state. No, they just had a piece of land in those 13 colonies. So if they had,
you got to look at South Carolina. Look at Gadsden's War.
What? Huh?
Gadsden's War was one of the major ports of the African slaves that were coming through, and not just the African slaves. We talking about folks that were coming from the Caribbean.
Not coming from Africa. They was coming in from Haiti on a boat.
They was bringing them in from the Caribbean too. Yeah, we talk about Caribbean, Haiti,
all that, Haiti, and they was moving us around, just like Ali said. I don't think he was paying attention. I was listening too. I listen. I just don't speak. But they're making it seem like they went way the fuck over to Africa. No, they was getting them from Haiti. They was getting them from the Caribbeans, and
well, it's closer. It's closer to Africa,
right? It ain't like they went all the way to Africa. That's bullshit.
But they made those trips or whatnot. But at the beginning, they was getting them from the Caribbean. You know, the ones that they didn't want, those slaves.
But they lied. The point is, King Cass, they lied. They didn't get them from Africa. They got them from out of literally Haiti, Cuba. That's where they were coming from. They was like Ali said, and it's true because I even said the same thing. They were shipping us in and out of the islands and saying, oh, we got them from Africa. No, you didn't. Stop fucking lying. You got them from Haiti.
But they brought like the Gullas, right? You look at the Gullas and you go to, they talk about Barbados. The same type of lexicon. I mean, it got a southern twang to it with the Gullah language, but you see the same type of lexicon in Barbados. So how they talk to her, because they was bringing a lot of people up from Barbados, and they was bringing them to South Carolina and stuff like that. They was calling white folks.
How do you think the people got in Barbados?
They brought them from Africa.
No, they didn't. They took the Indians from here in the north, the Pequots, and brought them out to Barbados and Jamaica and the sugar canes. But
we do know that they took Indians down.
There was already people there too. Don't forget, we were already there too.
Yeah, but they were taking Native Americans, or I say Aboriginals.
American Indians. They was taking the Pequot. to Barbados, Jamaica, Nova Scotia. That's what they did because there was a lot of them. And the same
Well,
thing
you got
with
to take them. You got to take them somewhere else because if they're familiar with this land, you can't keep them on this land. And they know the land. They know where to run away. They know where
it was
everything
moving
at.
them in and out. But they knew
You can
about the
move them
lands
out.
too. You ship them out there in Barbados, and guess what? They sneak their ass right back up in there because they knew how to get back here.
But that's why it was better for them to bring Africans. They like, look, the Africans not dying from New World diseases.
They didn't bring
They
them
don't know
Africans.
the land.
Don't even try that, bro. They didn't bring them Africans up here until the 20th century. Don't start.
No, I'm telling you. But that's what I'm gonna give you an example, Sister Bethy. You can go to Haiti right now, right? And you look at their systems that they got, their spiritual systems and stuff like that. And one of the things in their tenet of their spiritual system is when the spirit of, I forgot what they call it, the Bondi or something like that, when it passes or they die, they go back to Guinea.
Haitian brothers and sisters, bro.
And where's Guinea? Where's Guinea? Where's Guinea? Sister Bethy?
Gonna do that. You're not gonna do this to my Haitian brothers and sisters. Get out of here. No. You're not gonna do that, bro.
And remember that their first flag was red and black. It was red for the Aboriginals that were there, and black for the Africans.
Now look, the last time your little butt came up here, my chief from Haiti got up here and waxed your little butt. He gonna come and get you again.
Look, that man ran. He said a couple of things in French, and then that was it. He didn't really present no.
He's in the military.
Oh yeah, he said he was in the military. In the Navy.
He's still there. No, don't worry about where he is.
My Aboriginals, if y'all was on that ship getting beat up by them white boys, I would have came to y'all aid and stuff like that. Well, that didn't happen. Let me say that. The brother, they jumped the brother, right? And everybody came together. Everybody would have came together. We would have put everything aside, whether you was a Moor or a Hebrew. We would have seen fezzes and turbans flying up in the air everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I can tell you this. The Amistad, their asses came right from Cuba. And they'll tell me this is my state, the Amistad. That was some bullshit. They did not come from Africa. They came from right from out of Cuba. Those Cubans.
But the Cubans practice Nigerian. They speak Nigerian languages all through Cuba.
No, they don't. Stop lying.
They do.
Stop lying.
You talk to Cubans.
All right.
People think they speak. No, go ahead. Matter of fact, let's get some more folks up here. You know, Miss Beth, I love you. I don't like even.
I'm about to end the show because now you're talking crazy. And Cuba is 90% Negroes.
Yeah, my godfather, he a black Cuban. He went to when he got locked up here in Michigan back in the day and stuff like that. Shoot, the people that embraced him in prison was the Moors. Now he said there was a lot of fake stuff going on, of course. You know what I'm saying? But they embraced him. They call him nigga. They call him nigga Cuba. No, I'm not saying no. He was saying there was a lot of fake. They was in prison, and they had the numbers in prison, but they called him nigga
now,
Cuba.
The Moors, they do give a lot of great information, but they ain't nothing but Negroes claiming to be Moors. So I just all right, that's you want to call yourself fine. But
look, I'm mad at the Moor.
A bunch of niggas from here on the mainland and say, "Oh, I'm a Moor." No, the fuck you ain't. Your ass an Indian, and that's it. Stop lying.
But the Moor, Sister Bethy, is the first ones I heard talking about Egypt and Israel is over here. It was the first ones back in 2006 that I heard talking about it.
The Hebrews say it too.
So who got it from who? This is the thing. Like who got it?
I don't know.
They get it.
I'm not gonna knock it because, you know what? I'm not gonna knock it because I have not studied that far back in history. But if you really look at I don't know, it's kind of weird because if you look at the Mississippi, the way it's split, it kind of like, if we're
we know Mississippi. The Mississippi was a trade river pre-Europeans. We know that they was getting copper from up here in these copper mines up here in Michigan. You go to the copper mines all the way up north, and they say they found some of that copper. I mean, rumored They say they found it way over in Crete in Europe somewhere when they tested it. Found it down in the Mayan. The Mayans had that copper too in Michigan, so it was a lot of
That's the
trade.
Mississippi River right there, bro. I really believe it. I'm not gonna lie, that's the Mississippi River.
So the Hamites in Africa, the Hamites over here then.
And this is Mount Sinai. That's where Moses went. He stole all our records and put it up in there. Up there in the mountain. That's Mount Sinai.
Well, Sister Beth, you know they get that from the white folks that saying the Hebrew, the Mormons and all that. They was talking about the Hebrews and everything being
That's
here.
Mount
They were
Sinai.
saying, you ever heard that from the Mormons? Remember the Mormons was saying a lot of this, and the Hebrews was out in Utah and all these places?
They still say it. They still say it.
I think people want to put everything in the Middle East. People want to put all the culture in the Middle East, like the whole world didn't have culture, and that's a Eurocentric viewpoint and Middle Eastern viewpoint. Like I was telling somebody, I'm like, you think that you want to make everybody Hebrew? Do you think that the Eskimo, the Inuit people going to have the same exact culture?
They're not getting that from the Bible. They don't get it from nowhere else but the Bible.
That's all because of Roman domination.
What other book do they get that information from other than the Bible? Exactly. And that's their only source. They don't go outside the Bible. Oh, excuse me. They use the Apocrypha. My bad.
This is because of Roman domination. Roman domination has everybody wanting to focus on the Middle East. Once Constantine got in power and the Romans killed and slaughtered everybody, that's how Christianity spread. Now, early Christianity, the earliest one.
Don't forget that those were tawny people who did that shit.
Who was it?
Tawny people. Black.
What the one? You talking about Constantine? Constantine was a white boy.
All of them was black burned during that time.
Look, one people I'm not gonna claim. Romans had emperors from Africa and different places.
The Germans, the Greeks, all of them except the Saxons.
Well, we got to look at the color when we could talk about white too. Like white, remember when the Italians was first coming over to New York and all that, they wasn't considered white back in the day.
They was black, and they still got them nigga features.
Yo, I know some old Sicilians. I look at them like, where you from? You from
definitely
Middle East?
Sicilian. They slept with a lot of Africans. You know, Hannibal went over there and taught them how to be men.
Yeah, I seen some Sicilians like, yo, you dark, and they beef with the lighter Italians. Nah.
You know, Hannibal went over there and taught them how to be men.
Hannibal went over there and went with some elephants. I wish Hannibal would have went and dominated all of Rome. We wouldn't be in this situation right now, probably.
No.
Because this is a domino effect. Because of Rome, remember, the rest of Europe is the result of, how as far as the mentality and all that, the result of Roman imperialism. When you look at the cities, you go to look at the court buildings, you look at Washington, D.C., the buildings and the structures are shaped like Roman and Greek architecture. And them wasn't even the same type of what we call consider white people, because the Greeks and Romans, they got hips. I mean, especially the Greeks, they got hips, ass, they darker, the hair a little bit curlier. They don't look like the Nordic people over there in Western Europe. You know what I'm saying? But those people dominated them. The Romans were some bastards. I'm just gonna keep it real. The Romans were bastards.
As a matter of fact, in the meeting that they had with Chief Conestoga of the Mohawks, when they was fighting over Maryland, black Europeans was telling him, they waited till the next day to come back and respond to them about them not having no claim on Maryland. And they said that when he came back dressed up in his attire, that he reminded them of the Romans. So that nigga was decked out with chains and shit. Like, from head to
The
toe.
Romans. I wouldn't want to be compared to them damn bastards. The Romans was bastards.
All those
Matter of
black
fact,
Europeans were horrible.
but look
All
at,
of them are.
I mean, look at this. Before Christianity, right? The Romans, you got to remember what they was doing December 25th. They was having orgies on that day. This is how they celebrated their holidays. They was doing all type of weird stuff. You know what I'm saying? Plus,
Yeah, who was the one that slept with his mother and decorated the tree?
Caligula. That was Caligula. But we also got one white person pointed this out. He said the Romans had a sophisticated piping system, right? But he said it was one thing that was wrong with their piping system. It had lead all through it. So you got to remember what lead does to the brain, what it does to the blood. Napoleon used to give his soldiers a little bit of lead and stuff like that to excite them, to get them, the ones that were weaker, to get them more aggressive. So the Romans for 1,500 years is drinking out of these leaded pipes. You know what I'm saying? So you start to see all these
leaded pipes.
The lead pipes. Excuse me, lead pipes. Lead pipes. So they're drinking out of these lead pipes. So we know what lead does to you. Romans is 1,500 years drinking out of this stuff.
Make them retarded.
Make them retarded. They sleep with their mama like Caligula. They think he thought he was the god of, what was the Roman god? Mars or whatever he thought he was. You had other Roman emperors doing that stuff. But they pointed out, they was like, look, the Rome and those pipes, they had all type of lead and they were aggressive. They was going everywhere in skirts, kicking folks' ass. And the concept of whiteness wasn't how it is now. The Romans, they went throughout Europe. Well, because we always think about the British being, when they put an intelligent person on TV, they put a Brit and they put a Brit with a British accent and he's doing a documentary. But the Romans considered them stupid as hell. They're like, oh, I mean, the Brits are the dumbest of the slaves that we got. They consider them dumb. So the whole concept of just history of how those particular Europeans, those Germanic white folks and all that, that wasn't the same concept during Rome time when we was all this united white front throughout Europe. That wasn't like that at all.
Well, it depends on what part of Europe you're talking about. Now, if you're talking about like what dude said, where is it? If you're talking about where he actually admitted where white people are, the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Well, the Sacs. English and the Sacs. That's it.
Yeah. All that shit came.
Everything else was black. And that is true because if you think about it, when they kicked out all those people from England, it was all those little what do you call them? Orphan kids like Oliver Twist and shit.
Oh, yeah.
That
you talking about when they sent them over here?
They was just walking around the streets with no parents. None of them. There was no war over there. So where's all those kids' parents? So they shipped their asses over here.
And the criminals.
Yeah. Well, they stopped taking all the criminals, right? And what they was doing, they started sending the kids. I mean, Willie told me this shit, and it made sense. They started sending all the kids because it was just kids walking around.
Little orphan Annie.
Yeah, like where's their parents? They had no parents. So they just said, a lot of people from that area, when they do their ancestry, they always end up tracing it back to a goddamn orphan. So where did they come from is the question.
Yeah, little orphan Annie.
You go by the Yakub story, then there it is. But I'm not going to say that because it's not nice to say. But is it true or is it not true? Where did they come from? Nobody wants to tell where they came from.
Oh, the little orphan kids.
Yeah.
They actually still got an issue with that now, but now it's I don't like to say, because gypsy is like supposed to be like a a bad term. The Roma people, they saying they bringing a bunch of orphans into Western Europe. It's a beef. People don't understand. Eastern Europe and Western Europe, they try to get under this banner of whiteness, but it's been a beef there all the time because Eastern Europe, is closer to Asia.
Nothing but dark people.
Yeah. You can go over there now. Them folks you go to Greece, all these places, these folks got a little bit more flavor. They got style. It's a little bit more color. You get to Germany and England, it's all gray and dreary. The colors ain't there, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just dark and dreary. But you go to Italy, you go to Greece, you go up to Eastern Europe and stuff. Them folks they got way more soul and flavor than what's going on in northern Western Europe, Norway, and all them places. And then even when you get there, you get to Norway, you get to Sweden, you got an Aboriginal people there that say they were there before those white people came in. Damn, what are them people called?
Europe, in areas in Europe. Well,
the Sami people. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where the queen in them is at. I look at that when they show it on TV. That shit look like third world country to me. It's not beautiful there.
Oh yeah.
It's really not. It looks like third world country.
Oh shit! You go to Romania. They got some on Romania, the sewer people, but they got this whole community of people that live in the sewer. Like shit is crazy.
Shit, they got that. They got that in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's real sad. They got furniture and everything under the damn. They live underground. Oh, it just looks so sad.
Oh, I've seen the dude. He had a bed that he rented out. He had his styling over there.
They had a whole living room set. They had a whole living room set, a lady. And I was laughing because they had a lamp down there. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's a lamp with batteries. And she was crocheting. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, they living in those tents. I mean, I might would rather be in Las Vegas than LA because LA, they had an issue with the homeless people there. And they had them rats running around biting them and stuff. And they was getting all type of weird diseases and stuff out there on Skid Row.
Where?
And this is like a few years back. This was they had to send the CDC out there in LA, and they were getting bit by those rats. Folks are talking about the New York rats, but them rats, whatever rats they got going on in LA and stuff like that, they was biting people. People were getting sick. They're getting all type of diseases and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And they had to clean that up. Shit, if they ain't put them out there.
Something today about homeless people out there in LA. It was an article that popped up.
Man,
I don't know.
LA is.
I can get out of here. Cats, it's been 3.5 hours, and I really want to get out of here. I probably upset some people arguing with that lady, but she comes around. She's very weird. She just got weird vibes.
They know how you feel about the Moors and the Hebrews. Shoot.
Well, I don't care. I don't care. But you're not gonna come up on my show and try to make me, believe what the fuck you believe. Take your fucking ass back over to Chief Holiday channel where Cuddy is patient with you, because I'm not. She just got
Cuddy
that
DJ
woman king fucking vibes. Get out of here, man. I hope she don't come back. She just weird as fuck.
I hate when the sisters be. I was like, oh no. But peace and bless to Sister Bethy.
Creepy shit, man.
Well, we love you, Sister Bethy, even though I'm a Pan-African. Much love to you.
Stay a Pan-African. It's just dead. You need to.
I'm an American nigga like you.
The Pan-Africans we had their funeral last week. We had your funeral and wake.
Hey, look. We're going on.
You need to go and join Ali Muhammad's town.
Well, Ali Muhammad? No, we going over there. We going over there deep. If he's don't put us off again, we're going up there and we're gonna shut it down.
They got a whole town in California.
Who Ali? Is that where he at now? He's not in New York anymore.
Ali Muhammad they own a town. I pulled it up. It's beautiful land.
Oh, that's where you been at. See, I support him on that. If he's doing that,
I don't know what that man be. I don't know that man's personal business, but I'm talking about what he shared. They own a town. Literally.
I'm gonna check it out.
They have their own government. For real.
I wonder is he linked up with the Moorish dudes that's out of Hawaii with that land and stuff out there? They supposed to have some land.
I don't know, but all I know is he showed proof, and it is if you Google it, that town will come up. Hey, big dog.
Peace and blessings, Sister Bethy.
Yeah, I'm about to get out of here. I'm tired.
All right, y'all. I gotta make some jewelry.
I'm about to get out of here. Love y'all. Sorry if I offended people, but it's all those organizations that I had up there is what destroyed our communities and continue to destroy our communities today. And my conclusion is that we will never ever come together as a people, because this is what's keep us away from ever coming together right there. That's what it is. All that. That's why our people are scattered. And all this. They're all scattered up in this shit. So work with who you got. Big dog picking on you. All right, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. Enjoy y'all's day. I'm out.
Yeah. Conscious. Matic. Alright, so far where I come from. I sit and wonder about the times that it made sense, but nowadays I don't worry about what's past tense. My younger days I used to hang around with mad friends. If we just fell out, I don't really know what happened. A lot of people come around and keep you stagnant, distraction. So yeah, don't show them no compassion. We was really out here grinding, really rapping, stacking them Franklins, them Grants, and them Jacksons. Imagine if we would've never chased our passion, we probably would've never knew what happened. They was all just talk, we showed action. Once they leave, don't you let them back in. Just pack up all their stuff and send them packing. I'm blacking on anybody thinking they could act up with me. This vibe ain't for free, cause where I'm at in life, I'm only focused on me. Note the self, know yourself, focus on your health. They don't wanna help, then fuck it, do it by yourself. Don't give them no excuse to put you on the shelf. If it's me, myself, and I, then it's no one else. Yeah. Self-love is the best love. It's the people who always give that never get love. They ain't real enough to probably say they messed up. Just let it go and make the best of it. Yeah, self-love is the best love. It's the people who always give that never get love. They ain't real enough to probably say they messed up. Just let it go and make the best of it. Love yourself.
Yeah, practice what you preaching, but clearly they not practicing entitlement and pride. Yeah, those two things they factor in. Spiral out of control just from all the bantering. When they accustomed to talking behind your back with all that chattering. I remove myself before I abuse myself. Talk about self-love, but you gotta do it yourself. Yeah, I won't act too good for no help. We all healing now. Said some things about me that ain't true. How you feeling now? Even at my lowest, they tried to find a way to bring me down. Big y'all up for years, ain't talking just the brand or the sound. I don't throw things around, I do it from the heart proud. Mama just wanna see her sunshine, removing them dark clouds.
Yeah, self-love is the best love. It's the people who always give that never get love. They ain't real enough to probably say they messed up. Just let it go and make the best of it. Yeah, self-love is the best love. It's the people who always give that never